ਵਤਨ ਟੀਵੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਪ ਸਭ ਦਾ ਹੀ ਹਾਰਦਿਕ ਅਤੇ ਨਿੱਘਾ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਹੈ। ਪਿਛਲੇ ਹਫਤੇ ਦੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਨੂੰ ਤੁਸਾਂ ਨੇ ਪਸੰਦ ਕੀਤਾ। ਲੋਕਲ ਈਵੈਂਟਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਏ ਸੀ, ਤੁਸਾਂ ਨੇ ਪਸੰਦ ਕੀਤੇ। ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਇਸ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੁਝ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਬਾਤਾਂ, ਕੁਝ ਗੀਤ ਤੇ ਨਾਲ ਦੀ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਇਸ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦਾ ਖਾਸ ਹਿੱਸਾ ਰਹੇਗਾ ਜੋ ਹੜ੍ਹ ਆਏ ਨੇ ਲਹਿੰਦੇ ਤੇ ਚੜ੍ਹਦੇ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਪਾਕਿਸਤਾਨੀ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੜ੍ਹ ਜੋ ਆਏ ਨੇ ਉਹਦੀ ਬਾਬਤ ਸਥਾਨਕ ਮਹਾਰਾਜਾ ਬੈਂਕੁਟ ਹਾਲ ਦੇ ਮਾਲਕ ਤਾਰਕ ਚੌਧਰੀ ਹੁਣਾਂ ਦੇ ਉਦਮ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਵੱਖ-ਵੱਖ ਸੰਸਥਾਵਾਂ ਦੇ ਸਹਿਯੋਗ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਇੱਕ ਫੰਡ ਰੇਜ਼ਿੰਗ ਈਵੈਂਟ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਗਿਆ। ਉਸ ਈਵੈਂਟ ਦੀਆਂ ਝਲਕੀਆਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਂਝੀਆਂ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ। ਫਿਲਹਾਲ ਆਗਾਜ਼ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਇਸ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦਾ ਇਸ ਗੀਤ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ।
दाते जावी कावा बैंदना जावी मेरे पेकड़े, उड़दा ते जावी कावा बैंदना जावी मेरे पेकड़े, मैं वाली उड़दा ते जावी दाते जावी कावा बैंदड़ा जावी मेरे पेकड़े, मैं वाली उड़दा ते जावी कावा। दाते जावी कावा बैंदड़ा जावी मेरे पेकड़े, मैं वाली उड़दा ते जावी कावा। दाते जावी कावा बैंदड़ा जावी मेरे पेकड़े, उड़दा ते जावी कावा। ਜਾਵੀਂ ਕਾਵਾਂ ਬੈਂਦਣਾ ਜਾਵੀਂ ਮੇਰੇ ਫੇਕੜੇ ਮੈਂ ਮਰੀ ਉੱਡਦਾ ਤੇ ਜਾਵੀਂ ਕਾਵਾਂ ਬੈਂਦਣਾ ਜਾਵੀਂ ਮੇਰੇ ਫੇਕੜੇ ਕਾਵਾਂ ਉੱਡਦਾ ਤੇ ਜਾਵੀਂ ਕਾਵਾਂ।
Looking for high-quality, fully customizable windows and doors for your next project? Come visit Durabuilt Windows and Doors, where it's all about you. We value service, style, and innovation, and we'll work closely with you to help your vision come to life. With 2 convenient locations in Edmonton, our team will ensure your new windows and doors encourage friends and neighbors to take notice. Visit a design gallery today or schedule an in-home consultation. Call us at 1-800-544-3815 or visit our website at durabuiltwindows.com.
ਗੋਲੀਆਂ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਰਹੋਗੇ ਜਾਂ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਹੱਲ ਵੀ ਲੱਭੋਗੇ?
ਕੰਪਿਊਟਰ ਤੇ ਵੀ ਦੇਖ ਚੁੱਕਾ ਆ 4 ਸਾਲ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਆਇਆ ਨੂੰ 6 ਟੈਕਸ ਕੰਸਲਟੈਂਟ ਟਰਾਈ ਕਰ ਲਿਆ ਜਿਸ ਤੋਂ ਵੀ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਵਾਇਆ ਕੋਈ ਨਾ ਕੋਈ ਗਲਤੀ ਰਹਿ ਹੀ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਆ।
ਗਲਤੀ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਆ। ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਚੇਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਭਰਾ ਨੇ ਕੀ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀ?
ਭਾਜੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਏ ਹੋ ਨਵੇਂ ਤੇ ਟੈਕਸ ਭਰਨ ਦਾ ਟਾਈਮ ਆ ਗਿਆ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਟੈਕਸ ਪਰਪਸਸ ਲਈ ਸਿਰਫ KP ਅਕਾਊਂਟਿੰਗ ਵਾਲਿਆਂ ਕੋਲ ਹੀ ਜਾਣਾ। ਆ ਲਓ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਕਾਰਡ।
Are you satisfied now? It's more than enough.
Kapil ji, you're the best.
KP Accounting and Tax Services provides best results for tax preparation, bookkeepers, payroll, GST return, business advisory, and best specialist tax consultant in Edmonton. Contact
KP Accounting and Tax Services,
913335 Avenue Northwest, Edmonton, Alberta. Phone number 780-469-2677.
ਗ੍ਰੇਟਰ ਐਡਮੰਟਨ ਰੀਜਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਕਿਸਮ ਦੀ ਕੋਈ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਰਟੀ ਖਰੀਦਣੀ ਜਾਂ ਵੇਚਣੀ ਹੈ, ਲਾਟ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਸੁਪਨਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਘਰ ਬਣਾਉਣਾ ਹੈ, ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਬਿਲਡਰ ਤੋਂ ਘਰ ਬੁੱਕ ਕਰਾਉਣਾ ਹੈ ਜਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਮਾਰਗੇਜ ਲੈਣ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੋਈ ਸਮੱਸਿਆ ਹੈ
ਤਾਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਰੈਜ਼ੀਡੈਂਸ਼ੀਅਲ ਅਤੇ ਕਮਰਸ਼ੀਅਲ ਰੀਅਲ ਏਸਟੇਟ ਏਜੰਟ ਹਰਜੀਤ ਸੰਧੂ ਨਾਲ 7802333100 ਤੇ ਸੰਪਰਕ ਕਰੋ। Your real estate connection, harjeetsandhu.com.
Harjeet Sandhu, an award winner realtor, is great detail-oriented communicator, problem solver who will do the best for you for his negotiation skills in your favor.
Opening doors to your dream house, so call Harjeet Sandhu to make dream come true. Contact Harjeet Sandhu with Maxwell Polaris.
Make it happen. Dream it. Plan it. Work it. Get the best results with Harjeet Sandhu.
ਕਾਰ ਐਕਸੀਡੈਂਟ, ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਕੰਮ ਹੋਵੇ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਕਿਸਮ ਦੀ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਰਟੀ ਖਰੀਦਣੀ ਜਾਂ ਵੇਚਣੀ ਹੋਵੇ, ਭਰੋਸੇਯੋਗ ਤੇ ਸਿਆਣੇ ਬੈਰਿਸਟਰ ਅਤੇ ਸੋਲਿਸਿਟਰ ਸਰਜਨ ਲੂਥਰਾ ਹੋਰਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਯਾਦ ਰੱਖੋ।
ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਕਾਨੂੰਨੀ ਸਮੱਸਿਆ ਲਈ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਰਜਨ ਲੂਥਰਾ ਨੂੰ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਯਾਦ ਰੱਖੋ। ਇਨ ਕੇਸ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸਾਡੀ ਹੈਲਪ ਦੀ ਜ਼ਰੂਰਤ ਹੋਵੇ ਤੇ ਵੀ ਆਰ ਆਲਵੇਜ਼ ਐਟ ਯੂਰ ਸਰਵਿਸ। ਯੂ ਕੈਨ ਕਾਲ ਮੀ ਐਨੀ ਟਾਈਮ। ਮਾਈ ਫੋਨ ਨੰਬਰ ਇਜ਼ 7804664660। ਮੇਰੀ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਰਹਿੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਕਲਾਇੰਟਸ ਨੂੰ ਸੈਟੀਸਫਾਈਡ ਤੇ ਖੁਸ਼ ਦੇਖਾਂ।
ਜੀ ਹਾਂ, ਤੁਹਾਡੀਆਂ ਸਮੱਸਿਆਵਾਂ ਦਾ ਹੱਲ ਲੂਥਰਾ ਲਾਓ।
ਹੈਲੋ ਦੋਸਤੋ, ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਜੀ। ਮੈਂ ਹਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਆਪਣਾ ਰੀਅਲਟਰ ਹਰਜੀਤ ਸੰਧੂ ਮੈਕਸਵੈਲ ਪਲੇਅਰਸ ਰੀਅਲਟੀ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ, ਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਦੱਸਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਬਿਊਟੀਫੁਲ ਬੰਗਲੋ 158 ਬਲੈਕਬਰਨ ਡਰਾਈਵ ਅੱਜ ਅਫੀਸ਼ੀਅਲੀ ਸੋਲਡ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਹੈ। ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਘਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਪਰ ਸੋਲਡ ਸਾਈਨ ਦਾ ਸਟicker ਦੇਖਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਾਲ ਕਰੋ 7802333100। ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ। Hello friends, my name is Harjeet Sandhu. I'm a realtor with the Maxwell Polaris, and I have just listed this 8.85 acres of highway commercial land right in the town of Lamont, Alberta. This land is fully serviced, and about 3 acres of this land is fully fenced and gravelled. And this land has easy access to Highway 15 and also has access to Alberta's industrial heartland. About this land, if you have any questions, give me a call 780 2333100. Thank you.
Welcome to Ma Memory, your trusted partner for premium bulk products. Located in Alberta, Canada, Ma Memory connects you to a world of high quality, affordable products directly sourced from trusted manufacturers and wholesalers. Whether you're shopping for personal use or B2B needs, we're here to ensure a seamless and efficient supply chain experience. Tech essentials, micro SD cards, flash drives, SSDs, consumer electronics, cell phone accessories, USB chargers, cables, card readers, memory cards, laptop stands, and phones, lifestyle products, perfumes, coffee filters, and premium coffee. As an authorized seller of SNESH, we guarantee authentic products that deliver performance and reliability. Why choose Ma Memory? Exceptional quality, we handpick every product to meet your high standards, customer commitment. Your satisfaction is our priority. Shop confidently with a trusted partner.
To match the sizes that are on site, to match the hinge locations, the lock locations, so that the fit up is easy, and it makes it easier for the installer to put the doors into existing jams that are on the houses already.
I love Edmonton, I want to stay in Edmonton, and we want to help the community and plus Canadian stuff.
But definitely we're getting bigger out there, and this is kind of our niche to do these custom projects and make everything look fancy.
Lots of people love it. People said, oh, that's why name is Fancy Doors.
ਵੈਲਕਮ ਟੂ ਮਹਾਰਾਜਾ ਬੈਂਕੁਏਟ ਹਾਲ। ਜੇਕਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵੈਡਿੰਗਸ, ਰਿਸੈਪਸ਼ਨਸ, ਬਰਥਡੇ ਪਾਰਟੀਜ਼, ਲੇਡੀਜ਼ ਸੰਗੀਤ, ਕਾਰਪੋਰੇਟ ਇਵੈਂਟਸ, ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਲੰਚ, ਹੌਲੀਡੇ ਪਾਰਟੀਜ਼, ਗ੍ਰੈਜੂਏਸ਼ਨ ਪਾਰਟੀਜ਼ ਜਾਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਕਲਚਰਲ ਇਵੈਂਟ ਲਈ ਕਿਸੇ ਵਧੀਆ ਬੈਂਕੁਏਟ ਹਾਲ ਦੀ ਤਲਾਸ਼ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੋ ਤਾਂ ਤਾਰਕ ਚੌਧਰੀ ਹੁਣਾਂ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਖੋਲ੍ਹੇ ਗਏ ਮਹਾਰਾਜਾ ਬੈਂਕੁਏਟ ਹਾਲ ਤੇ ਪਹੁੰਚੋ। ਤਾਰਕ ਚੌਧਰੀ ਹੁਣੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਲਈ ਡੀਜੇ ਅਤੇ ਡੈਕੋਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਦਾ ਵੀ ਪ੍ਰਬੰਧ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਨ। Maharaja Banquet Hall also has nice dance floors, live food stations, cocktail bar, guest lounge and plenty of parking. ਆਪਣੇ ਅਗਲੇ ਈਵੈਂਟ ਨੂੰ ਯਾਦਗਾਰ ਬਣਾਉਣ ਲਈ ਸੰਪਰਕ ਕਰੋ ਤਾਰਕ ਚੌਧਰੀ ਹੁਣਾਂ ਨਾਲ 7806957200 780 695 7200 ਪਤਾ 9257 34A Avenue Edmonton Maharaja Banquet Hall.
Watan TV present the news with the help of Lot Binder, Harjeet Sandhu, Uday Nayak, Bernadette Young, Sunil Kalia.
Unprecedented floods had affected Pakistan very badly. Bunner alone recorded 228 deaths out of the 504 provincial total and 200 missing. A government helicopter involved in search and rescue operation crashed, killing all 5 people on board. The flooding caused at least 2,521 buildings were damaged, including 701 completely destroyed, across multiple districts in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa such as Swat, Abbottabad, Charsada, Malakand, Shankla, Lower Deer, and Torgar. Over 437 kilometers of roads and 52 bridges swept away during flash floods. Widespread landslides and flash floods also damaged roads, bridges, and communication networks, particularly in mountainous regions, isolating several communities. Widespread casualties, extensive property damage, and severely disrupted rescue operations across several districts including Bunner, Swat, and Bajaur. To help Pakistan, a call was made for raising funds for this purpose. Join us in making a difference. Let's come together for the flood relief fundraising dinner for Pakistan 2025 hosted by Let's Help Society of Alberta in partnership with Pakistan Canada Association of Edmonton under the leadership of Tariq Chowdhury and community organizations. Many other organizations came forward for this pious event. Watan TV brings a report.
والضحى والليل إذا سجى ما ودعك ربك وما قلى وللآخرة خير لك من الأولى ولسوف يعطيك ربك فترضى ألم يجدك يتيما فآوى ووجدك ضالا فهدى ووجدك عائلا فأغنى فأما اليتيم فلا تقهر وأما السائل فلا تنهر وأما بنعمة ربك فحدث صدق الله العظيم।
ਦੋਸਤੋ ਅੱਜ ਪਾਕਿਸਤਾਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੜ੍ਹ ਆਏ ਸੀ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿੰਨਾ ਨੁਕਸਾਨ ਹੋਇਆ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਸਭ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਤੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਤਾਰਕ ਚੌਧਰੀ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਗਰੁੱਪ ਨੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਫੰਡ ਰੇਜ਼ਿੰਗ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਆ ਜਿਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿ ਦੋਵਾਂ ਪਾਸਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਭਾਈਚਾਰਾ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਤੇ ਪਾਕਿਸਤਾਨ ਦੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਅੱਜ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਹੋਏ ਆ ਰਲ ਮਿਲ ਕੇ ਫੰਡ ਇਕੱਠਾ ਕਰਕੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਜਿੰਨਾ ਵੀ ਨੁਕਸਾਨ ਹੋਇਆ ਉੱਥੇ ਭੇਜਿਆ ਜਾਏਗਾ ਤੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਇਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਹਾਜ਼ਰ ਨੇ ਤਾਰਕ ਚੌਧਰੀ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰਕੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਬੈਂਕੁਏਟ ਹਾਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹ ਇਕੱਠ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਆ ਨਾਲ ਰੂਬੀ ਮਲਕ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਪਾਕਿਸਤਾਨ ਐਸੋਸੀਏਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਨੁਮਾਇੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਇਮਰਾਨ ਬਸ਼ੀਰ ਹੁਣੀ ਉਹ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਕਿ ਵੋਟਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਖੜੇ ਆ ਕਾਉਂਸਲਰ ਦੇ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਇਸੇ ਵਾਰਡ ਤੋਂ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਹਾਜ਼ਰ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤਾਰਕ ਚੌਧਰੀ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨਾਲ ਤਾਰਕ ਜੀ
ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਪ੍ਰਵਾਸ ਟੀਵੀ ਦਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਸ਼ੁਕਰੀਆ ਕਿ ਆਲਵੇਜ਼ ਸਾਡਾ ਸਾਥ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਹੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਬੁਲਾਈਏ ਤਾਂ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਆ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਅਸੀਂ ਅੱਜ ਫੰਡ ਰੇਜ਼ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਪਾਕਿਸਤਾਨ 'ਚ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸੈਲਾਬ ਆਇਆ ਪਾਕਿਸਤਾਨ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਦੋਨਾਂ 'ਚ ਹੀ ਆਇਆ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਹੁਤ ਬੜਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਨੁਕਸਾਨ ਹੋਇਆ ਉਹਦੇ ਕਰਕੇ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਆਏ ਥੋੜ੍ਹੀ ਜਿਹੀ ਕਿ ਚਲੋ ਅਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਕੁਛ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੀ ਹੈਲਪ ਕਰ ਸਕੀਏ ਅਤੇ ਉਸ ਬਾਰੇ 'ਚ ਅੱਜ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਹੋਏ ਹਾਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਪਾਕਿਸਤਾਨ ਐਸੋਸੀਏਸ਼ਨ ਅਤੇ ਲੈਟਸ ਹੈਲਪ ਆਰਗੇਨਾਈਜੇਸ਼ਨ ਨੇ ਮਿਲ ਕੇ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਅਤੇ ਦੇਖੋ ਕੀ ਬਣਦਾ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵੀ ਪੈਸੇ ਹੋਏ 100% ਪੈਸੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਉਹ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਹੁੰਚਣਗੇ।
ਇਮਰਾਨ ਬਸ਼ੀਰ ਹੁਣੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਕਿ ਕੌਂਸਲ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਇਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਲੜ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਵੀ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰ ਇਮਰਾਨ ਜੀ
ਜੀ ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਅਸਲਾਮ ਵਾਲੇਕੁਮ ਜੀ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਦੇਖਣ ਵਾਲਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦੱਸਾਂਗਾ ਕਿ ਜੀ ਅੱਜ ਦਾ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੀਤਾ ਇਹ ਲੈਟਸ ਹੈਲਪ ਤੇ ਪਾਕਿਸਤਾਨ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਐਸੋਸੀਏਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਵਸਾਤਨ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਪਏ ਹਾਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਾਡੇ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਨੁਕਸਾਨ ਹੋਇਆ ਬਲਕਿ ਦੋਨਾਂ ਪੰਜਾਬਾਂ 'ਤੇ ਚੜ੍ਹਦਾ ਸੂਰਜ ਅਤੇ ਲਹਿੰਦਾ ਸੂਰਜ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਦੋਨੋਂ ਪੰਜਾਬਾਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਨੁਕਸਾਨ ਹੋਇਆ ਅੱਜ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਛੋਟੀ ਜਿਹੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰਦੇ ਪਏ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਉਹਦੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੁਛ ਨਾ ਕੁਛ ਆਪਣੀ ਰਿਕਵਰੀ ਕਰ ਸਕੀਏ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਰਿਕੁਐਸਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਜਿੰਨੇ ਵੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਦੇਖਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਨੇ ਵੀਚਾਰੇ ਪਲੀਜ਼ ਸਾਡੀ ਇਹ ਹੈਲਪ ਕਰੋ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਕੋਈ ਫੰਡਿੰਗ ਇੱਥੇ ਰੇਜ਼ ਕਰੀਏ ਅਤੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵੀ ਡਿਜ਼ਰਵ ਬੰਦੇ ਆ ਉੱਥੇ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੁਛ ਨਾ ਕੁਛ ਕਰ ਸਕੀਏ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਜੀ।
ਰੂਬੀ ਮਲਕ ਹੁਣੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਾਣਦੇ ਹੋ ਕਿ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਹੀ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮਾਂ 'ਚ ਵੱਧ ਚੜ੍ਹ ਕੇ ਹਿੱਸਾ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਹੋ ਵੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਹਾਜ਼ਰ ਨੇ ਰੂਬੀ ਜੀ।
ਹੈਲੋ ਐਵਰੀਵਨ ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਟਾਈਮ ਦੇਣ ਦਾ ਇਤਨੇ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ ਕਾਜ਼ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੌਕਾ ਦੇ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ ਗੱਲ ਦੱਸਣ ਦਾ ਜੈਸਾ ਕਿ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਗਿਆ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਦੋਨੋਂ ਸਾਈਡਾਂ 'ਤੇ ਕਾਫੀ ਫਲੱਡ ਜਾਂ ਹੜ੍ਹ ਆਇਆ ਹੈ ਸੈਲਾਬ ਆਇਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਜੂਨ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਔਰ ਕਾਫੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਜਾਰੀ ਹੈ ਹੁਣ ਪਾਕਿਸਤਾਨ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਐਸੋਸੀਏਸ਼ਨ ਆਫ ਐਡਮਿੰਟਨ ਔਰ ਦੂਸਰੀ ਲੈਟਸ ਹੋਪ ਸੁਸਾਇਟੀ ਔਰ ਦੂਸਰੀ ਆਰਗੇਨਾਈਜੇਸ਼ਨਸ ਮਿਲ ਕੇ ਅੱਜ ਦੁਬਾਰਾ ਇੱਕ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਸਾਡੀ ਰਿਕੁਐਸਟ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਿੰਨਾ ਹਿੱਸਾ ਪਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਇਸ 'ਚ ਕਰੋ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਕਾਫੀ ਮਹੀਨੇ ਗੁਜ਼ਰ ਗਏ ਨੇ ਲੇਕਿਨ ਸਟਿਲ ਨੀਡ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਰੀਬਿਲਡ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਤੋਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਹੈ ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਸ਼ੁਕਰੀਆ।
ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਮੈਂਬਰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆ ਪਾਕਿਸਤਾਨ ਐਸੋਸੀਏਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਹਾਜ਼ਰ ਆ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਇੰਨੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰਕੇ ਇਹ ਔਰਗੇਨਾਈਜ਼ ਕੀਤਾ ਫੰਕਸ਼ਨ ਜਿਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿ ਕੁਛ ਨਾ ਕੁਛ ਜੋ ਵੀ ਇੱਥੇ ਇਕੱਠਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਆ ਉੱਥੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੀ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦਾ ਨੁਕਸਾਨ ਹੋਇਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਮਦਦ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਭੇਜਿਆ ਜਾਵੇ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ। ਦੋਸਤੋ, ਜਿਵੇਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸਭ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਅਤੇ ਪਾਕਿਸਤਾਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਸ ਸਾਲ ਹੜ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਤਬਾਹੀ ਮਚਾਈ ਆ। ਇਕੱਲੇ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਦੇ ਪਾਕਿਸਤਾਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ, ਸਗੋਂ ਪਾਕਿਸਤਾਨ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੀ, ਦੋਵਾਂ ਪੰਜਾਬਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਫਸਲਾਂ ਦਾ ਜਾਨੀ ਨੁਕਸਾਨ ਹੋਇਆ। ਉਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਅੱਜ ਤਾਰਕ ਚੌਧਰੀ ਹੁਣਾਂ ਦੇ ਹਾਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਫੰਡ ਰੇਜ਼ਿੰਗ ਦਾ ਇੰਤਜ਼ਾਮ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ ਆ, ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਜਿੰਨੀ ਵੀ ਰਕਮ ਇਕੱਠੀ ਹੋ ਸਕੇ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਨੁਕਸਾਨ ਪਹੁੰਚਿਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਪਹੁੰਚਾਈ ਜਾਵੇ। ਅਤੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਹਾਜ਼ਰ ਨੇ ਇਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਜਾਣੇ ਪਛਾਣੀ ਸ਼ਖਸੀਅਤ ਸੁਹੇਲ ਕਾਦਰੀ ਜੀ, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਜਾਣਦੇ ही हो। आओ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਬਾत करते हैं। कादरी साहब,
सबसे पहले तो नमस्कार, सत श्री अकाल, अस्सलाम वालेकुम। आपने बड़ी अच्छी बात की कि ये जो नेचुरल डिज़ास्टर है, जो सैलाब आया है, ये सरहदें नहीं देखता। हाँ, और ये इसको नहीं पता होता कि कहाँ जाना, ये इंडिया है कि पाकिस्तान है कि क्या है, और वो आ जाता है। लेकिन इसमें जो सबसे ज़्यादा बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट चीज़ है वो है इंसानियत। आज देखें जी, आप लोग भी आए हुए हैं, पूरी जो है इंडियन भाईचारा इधर आया है, और मैं इस माध्यम से एक मैसेज देना चाहता हूँ, क्योंकि एडमिंटन जो है एक बहुत अच्छा शहर है और हम सारे एक साथ रहते हैं, चाहे वो हिंदू हो, सिख हो, मुसलमान हो, क्रिश्चियन हो। एंड आई थिंक वी हैव टू सेंड आउट दिस मैसेज ग्लोबली कि अगर किसी को तकलीफ़ होती है, रिगार्डलेस कि वो इंडिया का है या पाकिस्तान का है, वो सिख है या हिंदू है, मुसलमान है, हमको उनकी मदद करनी चाहिए। और जितना ज़्यादा हो सके हम जितना हम चैरिटी वर्क करेंगे उतना हमारे लिए फ़ायदा होगा, इस दुनिया के लिए फ़ायदा होगा। और इससे मैं हमेशा अशोक जी का बहुत शुक्रगुजार हूँ कि उन्होंने हमेशा अच्छी चीज़ों को, यूनिटी को जो है वो प्रमोट किया है। तो वंस अगेन थैंक यू वेरी मच, सत श्री अकाल, नमस्कार, अस्सलाम वालेकुम।
ਦੋਸਤੋ, ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੀ ਆ ਕਿ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਜੇ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਤੇ ਪਾਕਿਸਤਾਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੜ੍ਹ ਆਏ ਆ, ਉਹਦਾ ਜਿੰਨਾ ਵੀ ਨੁਕਸਾਨ ਹੋਇਆ ਸਭ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਕਿ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਆ, ਇੱਧਰਲੇ ਪਾਸੇ ਵੀ ਅਤੇ ਉੱਧਰਲੇ ਪਾਸੇ ਵੀ। ਅਤੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਕਾਫੀ ਸੰਸਥਾਵਾਂ ਨੇ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਵੀ ਫੰਡ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਕੀਤੇ ਆ, ਅਤੇ ਅੱਜ ਤਾਰਕ ਚੌਧਰੀ ਹੁਣਾਂ ਨੇ ਉੱਚੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰਕੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਬੈਂਕਟ ਹਾਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੱਦਾ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਆ ਭਾਈਚਾਰੇ ਨੂੰ। ਦੋਵਾਂ ਦੇਸ਼ਾਂ ਦੇ, ਦੋਵਾਂ ਪੰਜਾਬਾਂ ਦੇ ਲੋਕ ਇੱਥੇ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਹੋਏ ਆ ਅਤੇ ਫੰਡ ਰੇਜ਼ਿੰਗ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਆਏ ਆ। ਉਹ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਿੱਖ ਫੈਡਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਆਫ ਐਡਮਿੰਟਨ ਦੇ ਨੁਮਾਇੰਦੇ ਵੀ ਹਾਜ਼ਰ ਨੇ, ਪ੍ਰਧਾਨ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਕਰਨੈਲ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਦਿਓਲ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ। ਹਾਂਜੀ ਦਿਓਲ ਸਾਹਿਬ।
ਅੱਛਾ ਜੀ, ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ ਤਾਰਕ ਨੇ ਉਪਰਾਲਾ ਕੀਤਾ ਜੋ ਵਾਰਡ ਪੀੜਤਾਂ ਲਈ ਫੰਡ ਰੇਜ਼ਿੰਗ, ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ ਉਪਰਾਲਾ ਸਿੱਖ ਫੈਡਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੀ ਸ਼ਲਾਘਾ ਕਰਦੀ ਹੈ, ਅਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਆਪਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਜਿੰਨਾ ਹੋਇਆ ਫੰਡ ਦੇਵਾਂਗੇ। ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ।
ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਇੱਥੋਂ ਦੇ MLA ਜਸਵੀਰ ਦਿਓਲ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਹੈ ਨੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਦਿਓਲ ਸਾਹਿਬ,
ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਜੀ। ਮੈਂ ਤਾਰਕ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਸ਼ਲਾਘਾ ਕਰਦਾ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਜਾਣੀ ਕਿ ਹੈਲਪਫੁਲ ਇਨਸਾਨ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ। ਪਿਛਲੇ ਬੜੇ ਲੰਬੇ ਸਮੇਂ ਤੋਂ ਐਡਮਿੰਟਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਸਟੈਬਲਿਸ਼ ਆ, ਔਰ ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਨਾ ਕਿ ਇਕੱਲੀ ਪਾਕਿਸਤਾਨ ਦੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ, ਨਾ ਇਕੱਲੀ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਦੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ, ਸੋ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਮੁੱਚਾ ਭਾਈਚਾਰਾ ਸਾਡੇ ਐਡਮਿੰਟਨ ਦਾ, ਉਹ ਇਹਨਾਂ 'ਤੇ ਡਿਪੈਂਡ ਕਰਦਾ। ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਮਿਲਣਸਾਰ ਆ, ਹਰ ਵੇਲੇ ਕੰਮ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਆ, ਅਤੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਚੰਗਾ ਉਪਰਾਲਾ। ਜਿਵੇਂ ਇਹੋ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਵਾਰੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਦਾ ਉੱਦਮ, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਹ ਫੈਸਲਾ ਕੀਤਾ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੜ੍ਹ ਆਏ ਨੇ ਰੀਸੈਂਟਲੀ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਦੇ ਵਾਲੇ ਪਾਸੇ ਵੀ ਔਰ ਪਾਕਿਸਤਾਨ ਦੇ ਉੱਧਰਲੀ ਸਾਈਡ 'ਤੇ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਨੁਕਸਾਨ ਹੋਇਆ, ਕਿ ਜੋ ਵੀ ਭਾਈਚਾਰਾ ਇੱਥੇ ਦਾ ਭਾਈਚਾਰਾ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਾਡੀ ਥੋੜ੍ਹੀ ਹੈਲਪ ਵੀ ਆ ਉਹ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਪਾਕਿਸਤਾਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡੀ ਮਦਦ ਦੇ ਰੂਪ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਣ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਆ। ਅਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਸੱਦਾ ਦਿੱਤਾ, ਅਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਆਰਗੇਨਾਈਜੇਸ਼ਨ ਵੀ ਹੈ PCAE, ਉਹ ਵੀ ਨਾਲ ਹੈ, ਅਤੇ ਦੂਸਰੀਆਂ ਆਰਗੇਨਾਈਜੇਸ਼ਨਾਂ ਵੀ। ਅਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਸੱਦੇ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਕਿ ਦੋਹਾਂ ਪੰਜਾਬਾਂ ਦੇ ਲੋਕ, ਦੋਹਾਂ ਦੇਸ਼ਾਂ ਦੇ ਲੋਕ, ਹੋਰ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀਆਂ ਵੀ ਨਾਲ ਆ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਕ੍ਰੈਡੀਬਿਲਿਟੀ ਵੀ ਆ, ਔਰ ਇਹ ਇੱਕ ਮਨੁੱਖਤਾ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮਨੁੱਖ ਹੋਣ ਦਾ ਵੀ ਸਬੂਤ ਹੈ। ਜਿੱਥੇ ਕਿਤੇ ਵੀ ਕੁਦਰਤੀ ਵਿਪਤਾ ਪੈਂਦੀ ਆ ਅਤੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਛ ਛੱਡ ਛੁਡਾ ਕੇ, ਆਪਣੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਬਖਰੇਵੇਂ ਛੱਡ ਕੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਮਦਦ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਅਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧਾਈ ਦਿੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਹ ਇਨੀਸ਼ੀਏਟਿਵ ਇੱਥੇ ਲਿਆ ਜੀ।
ਦੋਸਤੋ, ਹੁਣ ਤੱਕ ਜਿੰਨੀ ਕਮਿਟਮੈਂਟ ਹੋ ਚੁੱਕੀ ਆ, ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਜਿਹਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਸਾਰੇ ਆਪਣਾ ਆਪਣਾ ਯੋਗਦਾਨ ਪਾਉਣ ਦੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਆ। ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਅਮਰੀਕ ਡਿਵੈਲਪਮੈਂਟ ਤੋਂ ਜੋਗਿੰਦਰਪਾਲ ਹੁਣੀ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਾਫੀ ਦੇਰ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਹੀ ਫੋਨ ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀ ਉਹ 5000 ਦੀ ਸਹਾਇਤਾ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕਰਨੀ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀ। ਅੱਜ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਫੋਨ ਆਇਆ ਕਿ ਉਹ $7000 ਦੇਣਗੇ। ਨਾਲ ਦੀ ਨਾਲ ਸਿੱਖ ਫੈਡਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਵੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਦੋਸਤ ਨੈਬ ਸਿੱਧੂ ਆ, ਉਹ ਇਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਨਹੀਂ, ਕੈਲਗਰੀ ਨੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਵੀ ਕਮਿਟ ਕੀਤਾ, ਉਹ ਵੀ ਹਿੱਸਾ ਪਾਉਣਗੇ। ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਕਲਚਰ ਐਸੋਸੀਏਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਨੁਮਾਇੰਦੇ ਆਏ ਆ, ਉਹ ਵੀ ਹਿੱਸਾ ਪਾ ਰਹੇ ਆ। ਸੋ ਕਾਫੀ ਮਦਦ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਜੀ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸੁਣਦੇ ਹੋ, ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਕੋਈ ਯੋਗਦਾਨ ਪਾਉਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਆ ਇਸ ਨੋਬਲ ਕਾਜ਼ ਵਾਸਤੇ, ਤੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਜੀ ਆਇਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਹਾਂਗੇ। ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਤਾਰਕ ਚੌਧਰੀ ਹੁਣਾਂ ਦਾ ਤੇ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ। ਇਹਦੇ ਸਾਂਝੇ ਆ, ਨਾ ਇੱਧਰਲੇ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਜਾਂ ਉੱਧਰਲਾ ਪੰਜਾਬ, ਦੋਵੇਂ ਪਾਸਿਓਂ ਹੀ ਨੁਮਾਇੰਦਗੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ, ਇੱਥੋਂ ਵੀ ਤੇ ਉੱਧਰੋਂ ਵੀ। ਤੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ ਗੱਲ ਆ, ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸੁਣ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ, ਜੇ ਕੋਈ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਹਿੱਸਾ ਪਾ ਸਕਦਾ। ਪਾਕਿਸਤਾਨ ਦੇ ਇਸ ਹੜ੍ਹ ਪੀੜਤਾਂ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਫੰਡ ਇਕੱਠਾ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ। ਇੱਥੇ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਦੱਸਣਯੋਗ ਆ ਕਿ ਤਾਰਕ ਚੌਧਰੀ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨਾ ਕਿ ਆਪਣੇ ਬੈਂਕੁਟ ਹਾਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੀ ਇਹ ਇਕੱਠ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਆ, ਇਹ ਪਾਕਿਸਤਾਨ ਕਲਚਰਲ ਐਸੋਸੀਏਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਪ੍ਰਧਾਨ ਵੀ ਨੇ, ਤੇ ਇਹ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਸਾਰੇ ਜਾਣੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਸੁਨੇਹਾ ਕਬੂਲ ਕਰਨ। ਤਾਰਕ ਜੀ
ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਲਾਟ ਸਾਹਿਬ। ਮੈਂ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਆਪਣਾ ਸਿੱਖ ਫੈਡਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਆਫ ਐਡਮਿੰਟਨ ਦਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਸ਼ੁਕਰਗੁਜ਼ਾਰ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਆਲਵੇਜ਼ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦਾ ਕਾਜ਼ ਹੋਵੇ ਤੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਬੜੇ ਭਾਈ ਕਰਨੈਲ ਦਿਓਲ ਹੋਣੀ ਜਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਪ੍ਰਧਾਨ ਹੋਣ, ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਸਾਥ ਦਿੱਤਾ। ਸਿੱਖ ਫੈਡਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਸ਼ੁਕਰਗੁਜ਼ਾਰ ਹਾਂ। ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਕਲਚਰ ਐਸੋਸੀਏਸ਼ਨ ਵਾਲੇ ਚਰਨੀ ਬਰਾੜ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੇ ਵੀ ਫੋਨ ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀਗਾ। ਫਿਰ ਜੋਗਿੰਦਰਪਾਲ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਸ਼ੁਕਰੀਆ, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ $10,000 ਦੇਣ ਦਾ ਕੀਤਾ, ਨਾਇਬ ਸਿੱਧੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੇ, ਔਰ ਬਾਕੀ ਜਿੰਨੇ ਵੀ। ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਸ਼ੁਕਰੀਆ ਮੇਰਾ ਸਾਰੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਭਰਾਵਾਂ ਦਾ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇੱਕ ਹੋਕੇ ਤੇ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਹੋਏ ਆ ਹਰ ਵੇਲੇ। ਪਹਿਲੀ ਵਾਰੀ ਨਹੀਂ, ਆਲਵੇਜ਼ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਮੌਕਾ ਹੋਵੇ, ਬੇਸ਼ੱਕ ਉਹ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਕਾਜ਼ 'ਤੇ, ਫੋਰਟ ਮਕਮਰੀ ਲਈ ਹੋਵੇ, ਪਾਕਿਸਤਾਨ ਲਈ ਹੋਵੇ, ਇੰਡੀਆ ਲਈ, ਕਿਤੇ ਵੀ ਹੋਵੇ, ਤੇ ਆਲਵੇਜ਼ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ। ਤਾਂ ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਸਾਰੇ ਭਰਾਵਾਂ ਦਾ।
ਦੋਸਤੋ, ਜਿਵੇਂ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦੇ ਆਰੰਭ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਸਾਂ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਿ ਅੱਜ ਇੱਥੇ ਸਥਾਨਕ ਮਹਾਰਾਜਾ ਬੈਂਕੁਟ ਹਾਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਈਵੈਂਟ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ, ਫੰਡ ਰੇਜ਼ਿੰਗ ਦਾ ਈਵੈਂਟ ਜਾਰੀ ਹੈ ਪਿੱਛੇ, ਤੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਦਰਮਿਆਨ ਹਾਜ਼ਰ ਨੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਸਥਾਨਕ MLA ਗੁਰਤੇਜ ਬਰਾੜ ਹੋਣੀ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਬਰਾੜ ਸਾਹਿਬ, ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਨੁਕਸਾਨ ਹੋਇਆ ਜੀ ਲਹਿੰਦੇ ਤੇ ਚੜ੍ਹਦੇ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਪਾਕਿਸਤਾਨੀ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜੋ ਹੜ੍ਹ ਆਏ ਨੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਬਾਰੇ ਅੱਜ ਫੰਡ ਰੇਜ਼ਿੰਗ ਈਵੈਂਟ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਗਿਆ ਮਹਾਰਾਜਾ ਬੈਂਕੁਟ ਹਾਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। ਤਾਰਕ ਚੌਧਰੀ ਹੋਣਾ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਵੱਡਾ ਉੱਦਮ ਹੈ, ਤੇ ਹੋਰ ਜਿੰਨੀਆਂ ਵੀ ਸਥਾਨਕ ਸੰਸਥਾਵਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪੋ ਆਪਣਾ ਬਣਦਾ ਸਾਡਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਯੋਗਦਾਨ ਪਾ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਨੇ। ਕੀ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ?
ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਜੀ, ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਨੁਕਸਾਨ ਦੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਦੋਨੇ ਪੰਜਾਬਾਂ ਦੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਆ ਕਿ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹ ਹੜ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਉਹਨੇ ਇੱਕ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡਾ ਨੁਕਸਾਨ ਕੀਤਾ। ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਪਿਛਲੇ 25, 30, 40 ਸਾਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹਾ ਨੁਕਸਾਨ ਅਸੀਂ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਨਹੀਂ। ਅਤੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਹੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ NRIs ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਹੀ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਬੈਠੇ ਆ ਦੋਨੇ ਪਾਸਿਆਂ ਦੇ, ਉਹ ਜਦੋਂ ਵੀ ਕੋਈ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੀ ਵਿਪਤਾ ਪੈਂਦੀ ਆ ਪੰਜਾਬ 'ਤੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਰੂਪ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਵੇ, ਤਾਂ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਵੱਧ ਚੜ੍ਹ ਕੇ ਉਹ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਵਸਦਾ, ਅਤੇ ਉਹ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਨੂੰ ਉਵੇਂ ਹੀ ਹੱਸਦਾ ਵਸਦਾ ਦੇਖਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ। ਅਤੇ ਕਦੇ ਵੀ ਉਹ ਵਿਪਤਾ ਪੈਂਦੀ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਉਹ ਇਸੇ ਤਰੀਕੇ, ਜਿਵੇਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਅੱਜ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਸੰਸਥਾਵਾਂ ਅਤੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਲੋਕ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਆਏ ਨੇ ਫੰਡ ਰੇਜ਼ਿੰਗ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹਿੱਸਾ ਪਾ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਕਿਸੇ ਨਾ ਕਿਸੇ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਉਸ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਨੂੰ, ਉਸ ਮਿੱਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਗਿਵ ਬੈਕ ਕਰ ਸਕਣ ਜੀ। ਇਹ ਖੂਬਸੂਰਤੀ ਆ ਸਾਡੇ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦਾ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਹ ਸਾਡੇ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੇ ਲਹੂ 'ਚ ਹੈ ਜੀ।
ਠੀਕ ਹੈ
ਜੀ।
ਮੈਂ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਜੇ ਇਹ ਨਿਊਜ਼ ਸੁਣੀ ਸੀ ਜੀ, ਮੈਨੀਟੋਬਾ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਕੁਝ ਇੱਕ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਹ ਯੋਗਦਾਨ ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਪਾਇਆ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ, ਪੰਜਾਬ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਕੁਝ ਇੱਕ ਪੈਸੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਫੰਡਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ ਭੇਜੇ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ। ਅਲਬਰਟਾ ਲੈਜਿਸਲੇਚਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਦੀ ਕੋਈ ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਉਠਾਓਗੇ?
ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਜੀ, ਇੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਦਾ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ, ਪਾਕਿਸਤਾਨੀ ਅਤੇ ਭਾਰਤੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਆ, ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡੇ ਪੱਧਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਬੈਠੀ ਆ, ਅਤੇ ਇਹ ਸਰਕਾਰਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਣਾ ਬਣਦਾ ਥਲਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਯੋਗਦਾਨ ਆ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਪਾਉਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ। ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਨੀਟੋਬਾ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਪਾ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ, ਅਲਬਰਟਾ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਯੋਗਦਾਨ ਆ ਉਹ ਪਾਉਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਇਸ ਤਰੀਕੇ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਹ ਡਿਜ਼ਾਸਟਰ ਆ, ਇਹ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿਤੇ ਵੀ ਹੋਵੇ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇਨਸਾਨੀ ਮਨ ਆ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮਨੁੱਖ ਆ, ਉਹ ਇਹ ਤੋਂ ਪ੍ਰਭਾਵਿਤ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ, ਅਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਫਰਜ਼ ਬਣਦਾ ਜੇ ਸਰਕਾਰਾਂ ਦਾ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਡਿਊਟੀ ਵੀ ਬਣਦੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਦੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਸਿਟੀਜ਼ਨਸ ਨੇ, ਕੰਸਰਨਡ ਨੇ, ਅਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਉਹ ਜਦੋਂ ਕਿਤੇ ਫੰਡ ਰੇਜ਼ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ, ਉਹ ਪਾਰਟੀਆਂ ਲਈ ਵੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ, ਅਤੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਵੀ ਕਰੇ ਤਾਂ ਇੱਕ ਬਹੁਤ ਚੰਗਾ ਉਪਰਾਲਾ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ ਜੀ।
ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਬਰਾੜ ਸਾਹਿਬ।
ਮਿਹਰਬਾਨੀ ਜੀ, ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ।
ਦੋਸਤੋ, ਜਿਵੇਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਹੀ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਚੜ੍ਹਦੇ ਅਤੇ ਲਹਿੰਦੇ ਦੋਵਾਂ ਪੰਜਾਬਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੜ੍ਹਾਂ ਦਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਨੁਕਸਾਨ ਹੋਇਆ। ਉਹਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਦੋਵਾਂ ਪਾਸਿਆਂ ਤੋਂ ਫੰਡ ਇਕੱਠਾ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ, ਕੀਤਾ ਵੀ ਗਿਆ ਆ, ਉੱਥੇ ਭੇਜ ਵੀ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ। ਅਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਤਾਰਕ ਚੌਧਰੀ ਹੋਣਾ ਨੇ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕੀਤੀ ਆ ਆਪਣੇ ਬੈਂਕੁਏਟ ਹਾਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਦੋਵਾਂ ਪੰਜਾਬਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਸਨੀਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸੱਦਾ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਹੈ, ਅਤੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਦੋਵਾਂ ਪਾਸਿਆਂ ਤੋਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਹੋਏ ਹਾਂ। ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਕਲਚਰ ਐਸੋਸੀਏਸ਼ਨ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪੁਰਾਣੀ ਸੰਸਥਾ ਆ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਵੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਮੈਂਬਰ ਨਾਲ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹਿੱਸਾ ਪਾ ਰਹੇ ਆ। ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਚਰਨੀ ਬਰਾੜ ਹੋਣਾ ਨਾਲ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪ੍ਰਧਾਨ ਨੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਕਲਚਰ ਐਸੋਸੀਏਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ। ਹਾਂਜੀ ਬਰਾੜ ਸਾਹਿਬ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਇਹ ਤਾਰਕ ਹੋਣਾ ਨੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡੀ ਹਿੰਮਤ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ ਅਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਬਹੁਤ ਚੰਗੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਸਹਿਮਤ ਹਾਂ, ਅਤੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਕਰਕੇ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਆ। ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ ਉਪਰਾਲਾ, ਅਤੇ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੇ ਹੋਣੇ ਚਾਹੀਦੇ ਆ।
ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦਾ। ਜਿੰਨੀਆਂ ਵੀ ਸੰਸਥਾਵਾਂ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਇਕੱਠੀਆਂ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਅਤੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਆਈਆਂ ਨੇ, ਅਤੇ ਗੁਰਸੇਵਕ ਹੁਣੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਨੇ। ਗੁਰਸੇਵਕ ਜੀ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਹੀ ਆ, ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਇਕੱਤਰਿਤ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ ਹੜ੍ਹ ਪੀੜਤਾਂ ਦੀ ਸਹਾਇਤਾ ਲਈ। ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਉਪਰਾਲਾ ਤਾਰਕ ਹੋਰਾਂ ਨੇ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਰਲ ਕੇ ਕੀਤਾ, ਅਤੇ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿ ਅੱਜ ਹੀ ਇਹ ਖਤਮ ਹੋ ਜਾਣਾ ਹੈ, ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਭਾਈਚਾਰੇ ਨੂੰ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਭੈਣ ਭਰਾ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਲੋੜਵੰਦ ਨੇ, ਸਾਨੂੰ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਇਹ ਸਹਾਇਤਾ ਉਹ ਕਰਨੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ। ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਜੀ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਦੋਸਤੋ, ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਅਮਰੀਕ ਡਿਵੈਲਪਮੈਂਟ ਤੋਂ ਜੋਗਿੰਦਰਪਾਲ ਸਿੰਘ ਹੁਣੀ, ਉਹ ਵੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹਾਜ਼ਰ ਨੇ। ਸੁਖੀ ਰੰਧਾਵਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਜਾਣਦੇ ਹੀ ਹੋ, ਅਤੇ ਸਾਈਨ ਵੀ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਹੋਵੋਗੇ, ਵੋਟਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਖੜ੍ਹੇ ਆ ਕੌਂਸਲ ਵਾਸਤੇ, ਉਹ ਵੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਹਾਜ਼ਰ ਆ। ਆਓ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਸੁਖੀ ਰੰਧਾਵਾ ਹੋਣਾ ਨਾਲ। ਹਾਂਜੀ ਸੁਖੀ ਜੀ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਲਾਡ ਸਾਹਿਬ। ਇਹ ਅੱਜ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਹੋਏ ਹਾਂ, ਪਾਕਿਸਤਾਨ ਐਸੋਸੀਏਸ਼ਨ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਫੰਡ ਰੇਜ਼ਿੰਗ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾ ਰਹੀ ਆ। ਇਹ ਵੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਭਰਾ ਆ। ਜੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੜ੍ਹ ਆਏ ਆ ਅਤੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਹੜ੍ਹ ਆਏ ਆ, ਅਤੇ ਜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਲਈ ਕੀਤੇ ਆ, ਅਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਵੀ ਸਾਡਾ ਫਰਜ਼ ਬਣਦਾ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਵੱਧ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਧ ਫੰਡ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਕਰੀਏ। ਜੇ ਆਪ ਨੇੜੇ ਤੇੜੇ ਰੇਡੀਓ ਸੁਣਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਜਾਂ TV ਦੇਖਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਆ ਕੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਹਿੱਸਾ ਪਾਓ। ਮੈਂ ਇੰਨਾ ਹੀ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ, ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਕਰਦਾ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦਾ। ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ।
ਇਸ ਤੋਂ ਇਲਾਵਾ ਜਿੰਨੇ ਵੀ ਪੈਸੇ ਅੱਜ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਹੋਣੇ ਆ, ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਜਿੰਨੇ ਵੀ ਟੋਟਲ ਇਕੱਠਾ ਹੋਇਆ, ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਇੱਕ ਇਕਨਾ ਐਸੋਸੀਏਸ਼ਨ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ, ਉਹ ਇਕਨਾ ਵਾਲਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਉਹਨੇ ਪੈਸੇ ਮੈਚ ਕਰਨੇ ਆ। ਤਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਇਕਨਾ ਵਾਲਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਵੀ ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਕਰਦਾ। ਪਾਕਿਸਤਾਨ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਐਸੋਸੀਏਸ਼ਨ ਆਫ ਐਡਮਿੰਟਨ ਦਾ ਵੀ ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਕਰਦਾ। ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਜਿੰਨੀਆਂ ਆਰਗੇਨਾਈਜੇਸ਼ਨਾਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਾਥ ਦੇ ਰਹੀਆਂ, ਸਭ ਦਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਮਸ਼ਕੂਰ ਹਾਂ। ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ।
You know, before we begin our program, I want to acknowledge our Sikh Bhaichara who is here and they're supporting. They always support any event that Pakistani Ghana Association or Pakistani community take. So I want to really thank you, Mr. Barad from Punjab Culture Association, and also a very important organization who organized Mela in Millwoods is the Sikh Federation of Edmonton. So thank you so much. Please give them a round of applause. We have lots of other organizations and some elected representatives. They will be here and will be time to time will be acknowledge them while they arrive. And I just want to mention a few organizations. So don't think we're going to forget your organization who is participating in a partnership this event today. This most important organization, I know this organization since I moved to this country. This is COIN. Thank you.
ਹੈਲੋ ਦੋਸਤੋ, ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਜੀ। ਮੈਂ ਹਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਆਪਣਾ ਰੀਅਲਟਰ ਹਰਜੀਤ ਸੰਧੂ, ਮੈਕਸਵੈਲ ਪਲੇਅਰਸ ਰੀਅਲਟੀ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ, ਅਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਦੱਸਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਬਿਊਟੀਫੁਲ ਬੰਗਲੋ 158 ਬਲੈਕਬਰਨ ਡਰਾਈਵ ਅੱਜ ਅਫੀਸ਼ੀਅਲੀ ਸੋਲਡ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਹੈ। ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਘਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਪਰ ਸੋਲਡ ਸਾਈਨ ਦਾ ਸਟਿੱਕਰ ਦੇਖਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਾਲ ਕਰੋ 7802333100। ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ। Hello friends, my name is Harjeet Sandhu. I'm a realtor with the Maxwell Polaris, and I have just listed this 8.85 acres of highway commercial land right in the town of Lamont, Alberta. This land is fully serviced and about 3 acres of this land is fully fenced and gravelled. And this land has easy access to Highway 15 and also has access to Alberta's industrial heartland. About this land, if you have any questions, give me a call 780-233-3100. Thank you.
Welcome to Ma Memory, your trusted partner for premium bulk products. Located in Alberta, Canada, Ma Memory connects you to a world of high quality, affordable products directly sourced from trusted manufacturers and wholesalers. Whether you're shopping for personal use or B2B needs, we're here to ensure a seamless and efficient supply chain experience. Tech essentials, micro SD cards, flash drives, SSDs, consumer electronics, cell phone accessories, USB chargers, cables, card readers, memory cards, laptop stands, and phones, lifestyle products, perfumes, coffee filters, and premium coffee. As an authorized seller of Snesh, we guarantee authentic products that deliver performance and reliability. Why choose Ma Memory? Exceptional quality, we handpick every product to meet your high standards, customer commitment. Your satisfaction is our priority. Shop confidently with a trusted partner.
ਗੋਲੀਆਂ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਰਹੋਗੇ ਜਾਂ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਹੱਲ ਵੀ ਲੱਭੋਗੇ?
ਕੰਪਿਊਟਰ ਤੇ ਵੀ ਦੇਖ ਚੁੱਕਾ ਆ 4 ਸਾਲ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਆਇਆਂ ਨੂੰ 6 ਟੈਕਸ ਕੰਸਲਟੈਂਟ ਟਰਾਈ ਕਰ ਲਿਆ ਜਿਸ ਤੋਂ ਵੀ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਵਾਇਆ ਕੋਈ ਨਾ ਕੋਈ ਗਲਤੀ ਰਹਿ ਹੀ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਆ
ਗਲਤੀ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਆ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਚੇਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਭਰਾ ਨੇ ਕੀ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀ?
ਭਾਜੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਏ ਹੋ ਨਵੇਂ ਤੇ ਟੈਕਸ ਭਰਨ ਦਾ ਟਾਈਮ ਆ ਗਿਆ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਟੈਕਸ ਪਰਪਸਸ ਲਈ ਸਿਰਫ ਕੇਪੀ ਅਕਾਊਂਟਿੰਗ ਵਾਲਿਆਂ ਕੋਲ ਹੀ ਜਾਣਾ ਆ ਲਓ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਕਾਰਡ
Are you satisfied now?
It's more than enough.
Kapil ji, you're the best.
KP Accounting and Tax Services provides best results for tax preparation, bookkeepers, payroll, GST return, business advisory, and best specialist tax consultant in Edmonton. Contact
KP Accounting and Tax Services.
913335 Avenue Northwest, Edmonton, Alberta. Phone number 780-469-2677.
Just make you cry.
Hello folks, my name is Harjeet Sandhu. I'm a realtor with Maxwell Players. Just want to let you know that beautiful bungalow 158 Blackburn Drive is officially sold now. And if you want to see a sold sign on your property, give me a call 780-233-3100.
It's in my eyes. Feels like I could break it any moment.
ਸਰਬਰਿੰਦਰ ਸਰਾਂ ਪ੍ਰੋਫੈਸ਼ਨਲ ਕਾਰਪੋਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਅਕਾਊਂਟਿੰਗ ਦੀਆਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਭਰੋਸੇਯੋਗ ਸੇਵਾਵਾਂ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਪਰਸਨਲ ਟੈਕਸ ਰਿਟਰਨਸ, ਕਾਰਪੋਰੇਟ ਟੈਕਸ ਰਿਟਰਨਸ, ਕੰਪਾਈਲੇਸ਼ਨ ਇੰਗੇਜਮੈਂਟਸ, ਰਿਵਿਊ ਇੰਗੇਜਮੈਂਟਸ, ਆਡਿਟ ਇੰਗੇਜਮੈਂਟਸ, ਬੁੱਕਕੀਪਿੰਗ, GST ਰਿਟਰਨਸ, ਪੇਰੋਲ, ਟਰਸਟ ਐਂਡ ਐਸਟੇਟਸ, ਫਾਈਨੈਂਸ਼ੀਅਲ ਪਲੈਨਿੰਗ ਅਤੇ ਟੈਕਸ ਸੰਬੰਧੀ ਹੋਰ ਸੇਵਾਵਾਂ ਲਈ ਅੱਜ ਹੀ ਸਰਬਰਿੰਦਰ ਸਰਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਫੋਨ ਕਰੋ 7802006362।
ਆਪਣੇ ਪਰਸਨਲ ਅਤੇ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਟੈਕਸ ਰਿਲੇਟਡ ਅਕਾਊਂਟਿੰਗ ਸਰਵਿਸਿਜ਼ ਲਈ ਸਰਾਂ ਅਕਾਊਂਟਿੰਗ ਨੂੰ ਕੰਟੈਕਟ ਕਰੋ।
ਸਰਾਂ ਅਕਾਊਂਟਿੰਗ how may I help you?
To match the sizes that are on site, to match the hinge locations, the lock locations, so that the fit up is easy and it makes it easier for the installer to put the doors into existing jams that are on the houses already.
I love Edmonton. I want to stay in Edmonton, and we want to help the community and plus Canadian stuff.
But definitely we're getting bigger out there, and this is kind of our niche to do these custom projects and make everything look fancy.
Lots of people love it. People said, "Oh, that's why name is Fancy Doors."
ਵੈਲਕਮ ਟੂ ਮਹਾਰਾਜਾ ਬੈਂਕੁਏਟ ਹਾਲ। ਜੇਕਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵੈਡਿੰਗਸ, ਰਿਸੈਪਸ਼ਨਸ, ਬਰਥਡੇ ਪਾਰਟੀਜ਼, ਲੇਡੀਜ਼ ਸੰਗੀਤ, ਕਾਰਪੋਰੇਟ ਇਵੈਂਟਸ, ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਲੰਚ, ਹੌਲੀਡੇ ਪਾਰਟੀਜ਼, ਗ੍ਰੈਜੂਏਸ਼ਨ ਪਾਰਟੀਜ਼ ਜਾਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਕਲਚਰਲ ਇਵੈਂਟ ਲਈ ਕਿਸੇ ਵਧੀਆ ਬੈਂਕੁਏਟ ਹਾਲ ਦੀ ਤਲਾਸ਼ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੋ ਤਾਂ ਤਾਰਕ ਚੌਧਰੀ ਹੁਣਾਂ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਖੋਲ੍ਹੇ ਗਏ ਮਹਾਰਾਜਾ ਬੈਂਕੁਏਟ ਹਾਲ ਤੇ ਪਹੁੰਚੋ। ਤਾਰਕ ਚੌਧਰੀ ਹੁਣੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਲਈ ਡੀਜੇ ਅਤੇ ਡੈਕੋਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਦਾ ਵੀ ਪ੍ਰਬੰਧ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਨ। Maharaja Banquet Hall also has nice dance floors, live food stations, cocktail bar, guest lounge, and plenty of parking. ਆਪਣੇ ਅਗਲੇ ਈਵੈਂਟ ਨੂੰ ਯਾਦਗਾਰ ਬਣਾਉਣ ਲਈ ਸੰਪਰਕ ਕਰੋ ਤਾਰਕ ਚੌਧਰੀ ਹੁਣਾਂ ਨਾਲ 7806957200 780 695 7200 ਪਤਾ 9257 34A Avenue, Edmonton. Maharaja Banquet Hall. ਅਗਨ ਚ ਬਲ ਕੇ ਹਵਾ ਚ ਰਲ ਕੇ ਨਾਉਣਾ ਦੇਖਣ ਅਸਾਂ ਨੇ ਭਲ ਕੇ ਅਸਾਡੇ ਮਗਰੋਂ ਤੂੰ ਨਾਮ ਸਾਡੇ ਨੂੰ ਪਾਕ ਰੱਖੀ ਮਲੀਨ ਰੱਖੀ ਆਈ ਪਤਝੜ ਤਾਂ ਫੇਰ ਕੀ ਹੈ ਤੂੰ ਅਗਲੀ ਰੁੱਤ 'ਚ ਯਕੀਨ ਰੱਖੀ ਮੈਂ ਲਿਆਉਣਾ ਕਿਤਿਓਂ ਲੱਭ ਕੇ ਕਲਮਾਂ ਤੂੰ ਫੁੱਲਾਂ ਜੋਗੀ ਜ਼ਮੀਨ ਰੱਖੀ ਤੂੰ ਫੁੱਲਾਂ ਜੋਗੀ ਜ਼ਮੀਨ ਰੱਖੀ। ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰ ਫਿਰ ਸੁਰਜੀਤ ਪਾਤਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੀਆਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਸਤਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹਾਰਦਿਕ ਅਤੇ ਨਿੱਘਾ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਹੈ ਵਤਨ ਟੀਵੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। ਪਿਛਲੇ ਦਿਨੀ ਲਾਟ ਭਿੰਡਰ ਹੁਣਾਂ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਸਥਾਨਕ MP ਜਗਸ਼ਰਨ ਮਾਲ ਹੁਣਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਇੱਕ ਇੰਟਰਵਿਊ ਕੀਤੀ ਗਈ। ਆਓ ਵੇਖਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਉਹੀ ਇੰਟਰਵਿਊ।
Watan TV present the news with the help of Lat Binder, Harjeet Sandhu, Uday Nayak, Bernadette Young, Sunil Kalia.
Looking for high-quality, fully customizable windows and doors for your next project? Come visit Durable Windows and Doors, where it's all about you. We value service, style, and innovation, and we'll work closely with you to help your vision come to life. With 2 convenient locations in Edmonton, our team will ensure your new windows and doors encourage friends and neighbors to take notice. Visit a design gallery today or schedule an in-home consultation. Call us at 1-800-544-3815 or visit our website at durabuiltwindows.com.
ਗੋਲੀਆਂ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਰਹੋਗੇ ਜਾਂ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਹੱਲ ਵੀ ਲੱਭੋਗੇ?
ਕੰਪਿਊਟਰ ਤੇ ਵੀ ਦੇਖ ਚੁੱਕਾ ਆ 4 ਸਾਲ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਆਇਆਂ ਨੂੰ 6 ਟੈਕਸ ਕੰਸਲਟੈਂਟ ਟਰਾਈ ਕਰ ਲਿਆ ਜਿਸ ਤੋਂ ਵੀ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਵਾਇਆ ਕੋਈ ਨਾ ਕੋਈ ਗਲਤੀ ਰਹਿ ਹੀ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਆ।
ਗਲਤੀ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਆ। ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਚੇਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਭਰਾ ਨੇ ਕੀ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀ?
ਭਾਜੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਏ ਹੋ ਨਵੇਂ ਤੇ ਟੈਕਸ ਭਰਨ ਦਾ ਟਾਈਮ ਆ ਗਿਆ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਟੈਕਸ ਪਰਪਸਸ ਲਈ ਸਿਰਫ KP ਅਕਾਊਂਟਿੰਗ ਵਾਲਿਆਂ ਕੋਲ ਹੀ ਜਾਣਾ। ਆ ਲਓ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਕਾਰਡ।
Are you satisfied now?
It's more than enough.
Kapil ji, you're the best.
KP Accounting and Tax Services provides best results for tax preparation, bookkeepers, payroll, GST return, business advisory, and best specialist tax consultant in Edmonton. Contact
KP Accounting and Tax Services.
913335 Avenue Northwest, Edmonton, Alberta. Phone number 780-469-2677.
ਗ੍ਰੇਟਰ ਐਡਮੰਟਨ ਰੀਜਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਕਿਸਮ ਦੀ ਕੋਈ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਰਟੀ ਖਰੀਦਣੀ ਜਾਂ ਵੇਚਣੀ ਹੈ, ਲਾਟ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਸੁਪਨਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਘਰ ਬਣਾਉਣਾ ਹੈ, ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਬਿਲਡਰ ਤੋਂ ਘਰ ਬੁੱਕ ਕਰਾਉਣਾ ਹੈ ਜਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਮਾਰਗੇਜ ਲੈਣ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੋਈ ਸਮੱਸਿਆ ਹੈ
ਤਾਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਰੈਜ਼ੀਡੈਂਸ਼ੀਅਲ ਅਤੇ ਕਮਰਸ਼ੀਅਲ ਰੀਅਲ ਏਸਟੇਟ ਏਜੰਟ ਹਰਜੀਤ ਸੰਧੂ ਨਾਲ 7802333100 ਤੇ ਸੰਪਰਕ ਕਰੋ। Your real estate connection, harjeetsandhu.com.
Harjeet Sandhu, an award winner realtor, is great detail-oriented communicator, problem solver who will do the best for you for his negotiation skills in your favor.
Opening doors to your dream house, so call Harjeet Sandhu to make dream come true. Contact Harjeet Sandhu with Maxwell Polaris.
Make it happen. Dream it. Plan it. Work it. Get the best results with Harjeet Sandhu.
ਕਾਰ ਐਕਸੀਡੈਂਟ, ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਕੰਮ ਹੋਵੇ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਕਿਸਮ ਦੀ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਰਟੀ ਖਰੀਦਣੀ ਜਾਂ ਵੇਚਣੀ ਹੋਵੇ, ਭਰੋਸੇਯੋਗ ਤੇ ਸਿਆਣੇ ਬਰਿਸਟਰ ਅਤੇ ਸੋਲਿਸਿਟਰ ਸਰਜਨ ਲੂਥਰਾ ਹੋਰਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਯਾਦ ਰੱਖੋ।
ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਕਾਨੂੰਨੀ ਸਮੱਸਿਆ ਲਈ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਰਜਨ ਲੂਥਰਾ ਨੂੰ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਯਾਦ ਰੱਖੋ। ਇਨ ਕੇਸ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸਾਡੀ ਹੈਲਪ ਦੀ ਜ਼ਰੂਰਤ ਹੋਵੇ ਤੇ ਵੀ ਆਰ ਆਲਵੇਜ਼ ਐਟ ਯੂਰ ਸਰਵਿਸ। ਯੂ ਕੈਨ ਕਾਲ ਮੀ ਐਨੀ ਟਾਈਮ। ਮਾਈ ਫੋਨ ਨੰਬਰ ਇਜ਼ 7804664660। ਮੇਰੀ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਰਹਿੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਕਲਾਇੰਟਸ ਨੂੰ ਸੈਟੀਸਫਾਈਡ ਤੇ ਖੁਸ਼ ਦੇਖਾਂ।
ਜੀ ਹਾਂ, ਤੁਹਾਡੀਆਂ ਸਮੱਸਿਆਵਾਂ ਦਾ ਹੱਲ ਲੂਥਰਾ ਲਾਓ।
ਸੱਥਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ।
ਹੈਲੋ ਦੋਸਤੋ, ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਜੀ। ਮੈਂ ਹਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਆਪਣਾ ਰੀਅਲਟਰ ਹਰਜੀਤ ਸੰਧੂ ਮੈਕਸਵੈਲ ਪਲੇਅਰਸ ਰੀਅਲਟੀ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ, ਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਦੱਸਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਬਿਊਟੀਫੁਲ ਬੰਗਲੋ 158 ਬਲੈਕਬਰਨ ਡਰਾਈਵ ਅੱਜ ਅਫੀਸ਼ੀਅਲੀ ਸੋਲਡ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਹੈ। ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਘਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਪਰ ਸੋਲਡ ਸਾਈਨ ਦਾ ਸਟicker ਦੇਖਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਾਲ ਕਰੋ 7802333100। ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ। Hello friends, my name is Harjeet Sandhu. I'm a realtor with the Maxwell Polaris, and I have just listed this 8.85 acres of highway commercial land right in the town of Lamont, Alberta. This land is fully serviced, and about 3 acres of this land is fully fenced and gravelled. And this land has easy access to Highway 15 and also has access to Alberta's industrial heartland. About this land, if you have any questions, give me a call 780-233-3100. Thank you.
Welcome to Ma Memory, your trusted partner for premium bulk products. Located in Alberta, Canada, Ma Memory connects you to a world of high quality, affordable products directly sourced from trusted manufacturers and wholesalers. Whether you're shopping for personal use or B2B needs, we're here to ensure a seamless and efficient supply chain experience. Tech essentials, micro SD cards, flash drives, SSDs, consumer electronics, cell phone accessories, USB chargers, cables, card readers, memory cards, laptop stands, and phones, lifestyle products, perfumes, coffee filters, and premium coffee. As an authorized seller of SNESH, we guarantee authentic products that deliver performance and reliability. Why choose Ma Memory? Exceptional quality, we handpick every product to meet your high standards, customer commitment. Your satisfaction is our priority. Shop confidently with a trusted partner.
To match the sizes that are on site, to match the hinge locations, the lock locations, so that the fit up is easy, and it makes it easier for the installer to put the doors into existing jams that are on the houses already.
I love Edmonton. I want to stay in Edmonton, and we want to help the community and plus Canadian stuff.
But definitely we're getting bigger out there, and this is kind of our niche to do these custom projects and make everything look fancy.
Lots of people love it. People said, oh, that's why the name is Fancy Doors.
ਵੈਲਕਮ ਟੂ ਮਹਾਰਾਜਾ ਬੈਂਕੁਏਟ ਹਾਲ। ਜੇਕਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵੈਡਿੰਗਸ, ਰਿਸੈਪਸ਼ਨਸ, ਬਰਥਡੇ ਪਾਰਟੀਜ਼, ਲੇਡੀਜ਼ ਸੰਗੀਤ, ਕਾਰਪੋਰੇਟ ਇਵੈਂਟਸ, ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਲੰਚ, ਹੌਲੀਡੇ ਪਾਰਟੀਜ਼, ਗ੍ਰੈਜੂਏਸ਼ਨ ਪਾਰਟੀਜ਼ ਜਾਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਕਲਚਰਲ ਇਵੈਂਟ ਲਈ ਕਿਸੇ ਵਧੀਆ ਬੈਂਕੁਏਟ ਹਾਲ ਦੀ ਤਲਾਸ਼ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੋ ਤਾਂ ਤਾਰਕ ਚੌਧਰੀ ਹੁਣਾਂ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਖੋਲ੍ਹੇ ਗਏ ਮਹਾਰਾਜਾ ਬੈਂਕੁਏਟ ਹਾਲ 'ਤੇ ਪਹੁੰਚੋ। ਤਾਰਕ ਚੌਧਰੀ ਹੁਣੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਲਈ ਡੀਜੇ ਅਤੇ ਡੈਕੋਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਦਾ ਵੀ ਪ੍ਰਬੰਧ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਨ। Maharaja Banquet Hall also has nice dance floors, live food stations, cocktail bar, guest lounge and plenty of parking. ਆਪਣੇ ਅਗਲੇ ਇਵੈਂਟ ਨੂੰ ਯਾਦਗਾਰ ਬਣਾਉਣ ਲਈ ਸੰਪਰਕ ਕਰੋ ਤਾਰਕ ਚੌਧਰੀ ਹੁਣਾਂ ਨਾਲ 7806957200 780 695 7200। ਪਤਾ 9257 34A Avenue, Edmonton. Maharaja Banquet Hall.
Thank you. Mr. Jefford, no. So the value proposition is if you elect any of these three gentlemen, your taxes will go up. That's the value you pay from the status quo. In fact, over the last decade, City Council has rubber stamped nearly 40% tax hikes, 37% alone from Councillors Cartmill and Mack, and 11% more from Councillor Walton. I think one thing I've heard from people across the city is they don't mind paying more in taxes if they see the services being delivered magically. Almost anyone I speak to, and I'm sure many in this room feel that that's not happening when you consider potholes, snow removal, the garbage, the police, the crime. None of these things are getting better with your taxes going higher. We need a new voice, a new vision, a new way to sharpen our pencils and actually deliver more efficient services, but pass those savings on to taxpayers. I'm the only candidate calling for a tax reduction. I did it at the federal level when we rolled back the GST from 7 to 5%, and we cleaned up a lot of the administration. We can do it here at the city.
So what we're hearing from Councillor Knack in this case is just this constant sort of surrendering to excessively high taxes, which are in fact chasing businesses out of our city, making our economy less competitive, and making us less able to pay for the services that people need in our city. So we have to be careful.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes. So, any more rebuttal from anybody? Yeah, I think Michael shouldn't be such a defeatist. It's been done where you can balance the budget and still deliver high service.
Well, you can be realistic.
These guys, they've already demonstrated their only solution is to increase taxes. What about increasing economic development to offset the property taxes?
Thank you. I would just, since I think my name was referenced to, I do get my 30 seconds. Sure. Right? Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Yeah, I think it's important that when we're talking about being responsible with our budget, I mean, whether folks have served in federal or on council, if they're talking about either reducing taxes or bringing down certain increases, what they need to be able to do is show where that's going to come from. Our budget documents are public. So it's really easy to sit here and say, we're going to reduce your costs, we're going to freeze your costs. It's something entirely different to say, here's what I'm going to pull from the budget. And I think it's really important that we ask that when we're having those conversations.
Thank you very much.
Just so I'm clear, I'm talking about budgeting tax increases at inflation, which is responsible, not inflation, double inflation that Councillor
But that would still require a $100 million reduction
but we're also,
into 2026.
You need to admit, though, that you're chasing,
okay,
you need to admit that you're chasing business to Atchison, Andrew. That's the risk, right?
I think there's many more questions. We can still come back and reference these.
Absolutely.
Whatever the opinion you have.
Hello there. My question is, do you support the arts and culture community in Edmonton, and how do you see arts, culture, and the festivals impacting on the long-term success?
The arts community, the non-profit community in general, but specifically the arts community, is effectively the employee retention department of every company in Edmonton. It is the thing that adds fun to being in the city. If all you're doing in Edmonton is going to work or going to school and coming home, then that's not a very enjoyable experience. So it is the arts community that provides all of those enjoyable experiences. As your next mayor, the first thing I would do would be to bring back the Mayor's Night of the Arts. Now, this would not be something that would be in one of our theaters, in the Windspear or in the Jubilee Auditorium. This would be something we would do on Churchill Square, setting up a couple of stages, having performing arts on those stages, having musical acts on those stages, and having the opportunity for the visual arts to surround Churchill Square in that very active way. This would provide an opportunity for our local artists to really show their wares and show their works. This is, I think, a really important part of our city and of our community. My son actually is in a band, and he appreciates every opportunity that he can get to go out and perform in our local venues. My great-grandfather was a founding member of the Edmonton Art Society. So the arts are very close to my family. We value the arts in my family, and we recognize just what a big part of Edmonton the arts community really is. We need to sustain it, we need to fulfill it, and we need to empower it in every way we can.
Thank you. Mr. Knack, next.
Thank you. Yes. So the short answer, yes, support the arts and culture community, but it is expanding on that. It's talking about how we're investing in the various programs in the communities. As a city, I think what we've seen a lot, we see some very long-standing festivals and events that continue to get city support each and every year. I think the one area we do need to do a bit more work on is that as we continue to start new events and new communities, there are new events that are smaller in scale that sometimes have a tougher time accessing that city funding to get off the ground, and then to be able to grow and expand into the next Heritage Festival or the next Fringe Festival. So we need to make sure that as a city we continue to invest in those. because we have so many communities doing incredible work. I mean, literally every weekend there are multiple communities hosting different festivals and events. We should continue to support those. They are the lifeblood of what makes the city so great, and it's more and more. It's able to showcase the diversity of our city, and everyone gets the chance to experience that. So that's why, as a city, we need to make sure that the funding is more stable, so that groups can plan for that over multiple years to be able to focus more on growing their festivals and events and less on just trying to find that next grant for the next year to hopefully keep that festival alive. We know how much it matters, so very supportive. We need to provide more stability. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jaffer?
You know, I support the arts every day in the restaurant. In fact, this morning we had a group of jammers, some senior musicians come and play together, give them a safe space to play, and in fact we host a number of events at my restaurant that do work with the arts, whether it's literary arts, visual arts, and of course the music. So, Tim, if your son wants a place to play, he can definitely come over to our restaurant and show his wares, because we do have open stages and other things. And we actually have built some relationship with some schools, music schools around the city, where we come and give them a free space to play so their kids can get their experience of playing on live stage. But I think one of the things that, of course, doing our part myself and my business, we need to ensure that it's easier for some of the festivals I've heard from have said they even have to deal with the city on permits. And these are festivals that happen every year, and the headaches they have to deal sometimes with permitting just to get their next year's festival going again seems to be a bit strange. We have to also support them with stable funding and look at other options to be able to leverage sponsorships and other things to work in order to actually continue to grow the vibrancy of these communities. And then the other thing that I think has been missing is that there used to be some very big councils that used to advise the mayor and various councillors from areas of expertise like the arts community. I'd like to reestablish these councils of excellence, because we have to great people to go on and really learn about the challenges that we need to focus on, how we can help.
All right, thank you. And now Mr. Walters.
Yeah, thanks. So, I agree that, a city is defined by its commitment to arts. It's its main expression of itself. Weekends, summers, winters, I've been to so many festivals here in the South Asian community here this summer that have just demonstrated that very thing, that there's so much talent, joy, and creativity in the arts community all over our city. Edmonton is one of the only big cities in Canada that does not have a creative industry strategy. So if we are going to be committed to the arts and recognize that the arts are a primary driver of our economy, we need to be really focused on that. So I've already committed to creating a creative industry strategy to really maximize how much investment we can get into the arts and how much investment that returns to the city as a whole. We have our primary arts district downtown, which is really part of a safety question. Our arts community is struggling in our downtown because we haven't figured out how to make it safe, and that's a big part of my policy and my platform as well. You may have read about my Heritage 365 policies, so instead of celebrating Heritage Days just one weekend of a year, how do we utilize underutilized space, create more opportunities across our city for our culture communities to celebrate, showcase their talents, their gifts to all the rest of the city. And I also talk about, when we talk about red tape, one of the ways to make our LRT stations safer is to create commerce, art, and vibrancy in them by reducing red tape, cutting licenses and the red tape to get buskers and musicians and bands and artists to work in our LRT stations to make them fun and more safe. So there's just a few things. My website has a comprehensive arts policy. I'm proud to share. Time is up. We're not going to debate how much we love the arts.
We all love the arts.
Well, if you guys want to debate it.
Oh, yeah, it's okay. I love it more.
Awesome. Thank you, gentlemen. My question is, starting with you, Mr. Knack. What are your thoughts on the privatization of the Edmonton transit system as a model to improve the current system? And can you provide an alternative solution for improving rider safety?
I don't support privatizing our transit system, just full stop. If transit was going to make money, there would be many companies running municipal transit systems. They don't. It's a core public service that people rely on, so we need to invest in it. In fact, we need to invest more. We've added about 200,000 service hours over the last 4 years. we need to add more, and we're going to do that once the next bus garage is built. But we not only have to have that one built, we need another one to make sure there's enough of a bus fleet. But that has to be publicly run, because that's the only way to ensure everyone has access to what is a critical service. On the safety side of things, there's a few ideas. So I released my Safer City plan earlier this week. It deals with a few key issues. That includes, along with doubling of the transit peace officers that have happened in the last few years, we still need to add some additional transit peace officers to have full coverage, including on the Valley Line southeast here to Mill Woods. We also need to have what I proposed is an attendant program to making sure that those stations, along with the security, are welcoming and clean and a space where anyone can engage. So that's going to be critical to having that support. Edmonton Police Service already has a dedicated team of 35 officers. They've started up in the last few years. There's another 15 that need to come on to make sure that the system is safe for everyone, because we do know that the transit stations have been a concern for a number of residents. So investing in the safety and security, but also getting folks who are using transit centers as...
Time is up.
I haven't really looked at any models that show the benefit of privatization of transit. I'd be open to looking to see what they're proposing, but what I'd rather look at is an example, because I'm proposing in my plan a free transit zone that would actually an entertainment district for the hospitals, and in particular some of our colleges and universities, to make it easier for people to get around and reduce the cost for especially students and those who are obviously facing affordability issues the most are. In Calgary, they found a sponsorship in order to provide that sort of free ridership in a certain part of downtown. That's something I would be looking at to try to look at, outside of the box ideas, the way to be able to raise revenue, not fares. And I think that's something I would be open to as it works in like Calgary. We could probably hear. The idea of safety on transit is a major problem. I hear that from a lot of people who work downtown, want to come downtown, but feel like they don't feel safe looking at the LRT process. I want to make our platforms secure. I don't know why it wasn't done in the beginning with the design of having some sort of barrier system that you cross before you enter the platform. And then you can focus, as Andrew said, the police officers. I'd like to focus there, focus on the buses, because the buses have their own challenges, and the drivers shouldn't have to deal with a lot of problems that they are facing. So if we can secure the platforms on the LRT and make it so that there's a barrier, let's focus the attention on the buses with the police officers.
Mr. Walters.
Yeah, thank you. So 100% no to privatized transit. Transit is a public amenity that people in our city require to get to work, to get to school. It's very important. My kids rely on transit to get to university and to school. My family supports and relies on public transit. It's very important to us. It needs to be 100% safe, and that starts with tone from the top, from mayor and council, meaningfully recognizing that people do not feel safe today on a transit system that we spent billions of dollars building, particularly LRT. It's important for mayor and council to meaningfully recognize that in order to address it. So we need a number of things. We need some day shelters, particularly in our downtown, so that people who are suffering and languishing in our transit system and are attracting some of the elements that make it feel unsafe to people have a place to go to get the supports and services that they need, so that our transit centers, shelters, and LRT stations can be safe. We need to activate them. I've proposed a number of weeks ago an attendant program and a kiosk program where we have commerce and activity and art, as I just suggested earlier, returning to make our stations more busy with more eyes and ears present to help with safety is really important. And I think a better relationship between the Edmonton Police Service and transit peace officers. I think that's starting to get a little better, but over the last 4 years, because of the acrimony between the City Administration, Council, and Police, there hasn't been a lot of cooperation, which has had a negative impact on our city and our riders. I'm going to freeze fares for the next 4 years until we make it reliable and safe, and we need to focus more on local service so people don't have to spend 45 minutes getting from a neighborhood to an LRT.
So that shifts the conversation to safety. I moved the motion on installing fare gates, at least at our underground stations and our most the stations that are the most problematic. And that motion was not passed by the current City Council, so I would immediately bring that back. And fare gates actually addresses both of the things that we're talking about here. By introducing fare gates, you ensure that the people that are in the transit system are actually using the transit system for transit. That's the first thing. The second thing is, it might surprise you to know that the city does not actually know how many people are using the LRT system because we don't have gates and we don't count how many people are on that LRT system. So Mr. Jaffer's idea that we need to somehow entice people back with free fares, we have a lot of people that are already riding for free because there's nothing to stop them from riding for free. So the first thing we need to do is actually understand how many people are on that system, what the fare revenue should be, and how to actually ensure that those people are paying a fare. In terms of safety, I would simply return to where we were pre-pandemic, where we had what they called the LRT beats. Effectively, police officers, sworn police officers that were riding the LRT system, that were present in the LRT stations, that were that visible deterrent to some of the disorderly behavior that we see in these spaces. But not only that are constantly present to bring the solutions we need. So if there's somebody that's in need of care and support, the police service is there to bring care and support in an immediate basis. And when there's a need for a little bit of accountability, then those police officers are there for that accountability.
You know, one of the things I'd like to say is that nowadays maybe Mr. Carvell doesn't realize there's technology out there that allows you to actually put on the turnstiles so you can track who's riding and who isn't. You can issue things that allow people to carry certain cards even though they would free monitor that. So there are systems out there that we can still offer free transit and monitor them. But I think most Edmontonians want to ask Mr. Knack and Mr. Carvell, why did they allow the system of transit to become so unsafe over their tenure?
So I'll start. It wasn't me that was, calling out the police service 3 times a day on social media and creating all this acrimony. I'm fully aware of the technology that fare gates offer, and what Mr. Jaffer doesn't necessarily understand is that the city already provides low-cost or no-cost transit passes to those that really need them. So we're actually checking all of those boxes. All we really need is the system to count the people and charge the fares.
I think there's another follow-up question is why, as 2 veteran leaders on a pretty new council, why the council, under your leadership, the council wasn't able to work together to create a safer system. I think that's one of the challenges that I struggle with is...
Hello. Please let us ask the follow-up questions. We have that written here and we are making notes. Thank you very much, and I think they'll look better if we are asking those questions. So any more rebuttal from anybody, or we are all good for this?
Just because the question came up around from a couple of others on this. So again, I do come back to the fact that there has been work on this, but it's not done. Right? The doubling of the transit peace officers over the last 2 years, the addition of having dedicated police officers in our transit stations using the system on a regular basis was because we've been hearing from people loud and clear that there are many concerns, and it's not where it needs to be yet. So that's why there's the continued investment that needs to happen, but I just think it's really important to make sure people realize that there's actually been a very significant investment.
Time is up.
Yeah, no results.
Okay, we're gonna move into the next round. So we are going to go back to Kate now.
My next question is, can you give an outside the box, real solution for supporting and dealing with the homelessness crisis in Edmonton? We're gonna start with Mr. Knack.
Mr. Jeffers.
Mr. Jeffers? Yeah, Mr. Jeffers, go right ahead.
I feel there's 2 components that are the challenge. One is that where our services are currently located, particularly downtown, we have the spilling over in communities, businesses, other challenges that not being able to properly give housing and other supportive wraparound services in the same location. You've got others, they just don't feel like the current solution is working. I'm proposing, and this is very important, that I'm going to stress something that my other colleagues have not demonstrated. To be able to open the door with provincial government and actually negotiate what's important for this city. Shouldn't matter what political strife we have, we should be able to do that on the basis of what's important for Edmontonians, make sure the province knows that. I'd like to move most of our services working with the province around where the Alberta Hospital location is, just north of the city, and have the full wraparound services provided to those people who are struggling with poverty, mental illness, addiction, and need the support in one place that's safe. One of the problems that happens right now, people come out of the day shelters and then they become preyed on by drug dealers, by others who want to prey on them. And unfortunately, there's a spillover into the community with a lot of problems. So I believe we can do that. I think the will be there for the province to work on something like this. And this will be a positive thing.
Time is up.
Thank you. It's a really important question for me. It's one of the main reasons I came back into city politics, and I'm running for mayor, seeing how, I own a business downtown, seeing how many people are suffering and languishing with addictions, mental illness, homelessness in our downtown today. Started my career at Bissell Centre, so I've been working on homelessness and housing issues for a long time. There's some simple steps which most of our agency partners agree with, which is that we do need a day shelter space so people have a safe place to go during the day, beyond the navigation centers, but places where people can stay, hang out, get the support, resources, comforts that they need. We need 1,500 more units of a range of transitional and supportive housing in this city for people that are coming off the street, whether through mental illness supports, healthcare integration, or addictions treatment. And we certainly need to work together with the provincial and federal governments on mental health, addictions, and housing. If any one order of government could figure this out, they would have already long done that. This sort of naive notion that a city can go it alone is frankly unsafe for people who are vulnerable, and ultimately will involve more policing where they don't want to be involved in social issues. So there was an opportunity to show leadership from the city in the last 3 years on overdose response, on camera response, on day shelter response, but that leadership wasn't taken because it's expensive, and we realize
time is up.
I think that first of all, we need to amplify and support the community efforts that are already in place that are helping our homeless population to either get back on their feet or at the very least find shelter. So a couple of examples. The Al Rashid Mosque is always there to provide shelter, particularly in the coldest months. And what can we as a city do to amplify and empower more of that kind of activity? I had the pleasure of a few weeks ago of visiting the Sikhs for Humanity Food Bank, where a very quiet, not necessarily a very well-known agency, but an agency that is trying to provide some help when it comes to food security, some help when it comes to getting the goods, the household goods that people need for their home in a less expensive or even free manner. I think we need to try to find a way to empower more of those agencies to do that kind of work. And the thing I would point to in terms of government relationships would be urban reserves. There's an opportunity for us to support the Indigenous communities that are disproportionately represented amongst our homeless communities, but in a way that is more culturally sensitive and that respects, particularly today, that nation-to-nation relationship that should exist between our federal government and our local Indigenous nations.
And appreciate that while we'll want to try to work with the provincial government, because mental health and addictions, housing and homelessness, shelter operations is primarily their role, we have to be willing to stop just trying to fill in the gaps and be willing to act. And so that's what I'm proposing, which is taking the money that we're already spending every year. We're spending about $91 million a year filling gaps. We are building housing, but we need to use that money and treat this issue like it is our jurisdiction. Too many people are dying on the streets. That impacts, we're seeing every winter more and more people who are having amputations. So those individuals need a humane solution. They need permanent supportive housing. We all agree that we need the right number of housing units of permanent supportive housing spread out across the city. We need to have those day shelter spaces, but we also need to have more mental health and addictions care across the city, but also spread out across the province, because we do know that part of the challenge that we face is folks will come seek out services here in Edmonton because they don't have those available to them. We're seeing that in Red Deer, where I had a chance to tour their recovery center. They're at the point now where folks that have finished their recovery program do not have post-recovery housing to go to in the community. So again, this is why the city needs to take a leadership role. We'll work with every partner that's willing. That's currently the federal government, nonprofits, private sector, and hopefully the province as well.
Extreme weather and burns in encampments. The city did have the opportunity in the last 4 years to show this kind of leadership, not wait for the provincial government on a camera response, on overdose response, but chose to make statements instead about this is the province's responsibility. So I think there are places where the city should lead. I would have led in those cases, but we certainly can't be naive and suggest that we can do this ourselves.
Mr. Nick.
Yeah, thank you. I think what's important to note is that the city did take leadership by actually building housing. And that's important because at the end of the day, if you don't have those spaces, those 24/7 spaces where people can get the mental health support and care that they need, they'll find themselves back on the street. So we took leadership by spending the money on building housing, and
amputations went up.
Ignore that.
We're going to finish the first 30 seconds.
I think we should let one gentleman speak.
Yes.
Forgive me.
The one thing, though, I'd like to add on this is that many, and I hope many of you haven't had to experience our emergency rooms at the hospitals and unfortunate wait times that are involved now, because we've somehow really intermingled the whole issue with dependency and everything else that obviously the hospitals are trying to manage, and it's becoming very difficult for them, and hence the long wait times. By creating the idea that I said of this opportunity around Alberta Hospital, you're going to declog the dependency issue and focus on it in one place, giving mental supports to those people. Free up them.
Mr. Cardinal.
Yeah, thank you. So Andrew's right. We have been spending $91 million a year on housing supports. The city is trying to fill the gaps and take a leadership role on that, which is both a blessing and a curse. The more we do that, the more the province is going to let us do that. And so you're paying for those services with your income taxes that you pay for the province. For us to double down and pay for those services with property taxes means you're paying twice. So we've made the investments, but it's time to reinforce that relationship with the province so that they make them instead. It's their responsibility.
Now we're going to go to Mr. Buttar.
This question is very close to our heart in this part of the city. When ride-sharing companies were introduced in Edmonton, the taxi industry lost an estimated $220 million. The plate value is almost overnight. Those are real people, real families. Even today, both industries continue to operate under very different regulations. As mayor, what steps would you take to create a fair, balanced framework so the both taxi and ride-sharing industry can coexist and thrive in Edmonton? How are you going to make sure that? I'm going to start with Mr. Michael Walters.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. This is a really important question, and of course, we all remember the debate. This ride-sharing disruptive technologies came to cities all over the world, so Edmonton wasn't unique in trying to address something, a very aggressive company that was, bringing its technology and its business model to our city. My approach then was careful listening about how, in fact, this would affect families' financial health, their investments, their future, trying to balance and build a bylaw that, dealt with the tidal wave of this new technology and our established taxi industry. And, looking back, I can probably look you in the eye and say we didn't quite balance it fairly. And I think, but with all bylaws and with all changes, we need to stay connected to the communities that are most affected. I've certainly learned in this campaign, the challenges that this community has on this issue, among many issues, and that our relationship and making sure you have a seat at the table on those important issues matter so that we do get it right. I think that bylaw, I know that bylaw gets reviewed regularly, and there's opportunities for council to adjust and to amend and make sure that equity and fairness is a big part of it. So I can't give you a very technical answer. Is that, we need to learn from how we adapt to new technology, the mistakes we made, to make sure we don't make them again in the future. Thank you.
Mr. Cardinal.
Thank you. So we have the same problem when it comes to things like Uber, rideshare applications and technology, and things like Airbnb. And that is that not only are they not governed by the city of Edmonton, they're seemingly not governed at all. These are worldwide companies that have the ability to allow technology to come right into the devices that we're all carrying today. And there's nothing that the city can really do to interrupt that, which makes it very difficult. Even if we create some of the laws and some of the barriers that should protect taxi cab owners and plate owners, it's very difficult to get these multinational companies to actually obey those laws. So we need to find a way to get them on side. What I think we have done is make sure that all drivers are required to go through the same training, through the same set of regulation. What I think we haven't done, though, for taxi and limousine drivers is reduce the red tape. the journey it takes to get licensed, the journey it takes to fill out all of those forms, the journey it takes where there's seemingly more checks and barriers and checks and balances for taxi and limousine drivers than there is for Uber drivers. So we can reduce that red tape, we can make it easier, and quite frankly, try to find a way to make it as equitable as we can, understanding that there's this technological and governance challenge that is really difficult for us.
Mr. Nick?
Thanks. So, yes, I think we're going to echo a lot of the same comments here, which is that obviously these two technologies now exist. They've been existing for a while, and it's the continued refinement. So, as mentioned, we've recently gone through and updated the training requirements for the transit net groups like Uber to making sure they're held to a higher standard because they were on a different playing field and that wasn't the right thing to do. So it's good to see that change has been made. We also need to look at the costs, and it might be the licensing process, it could be the actual ability of what can be charged. But as mentioned, this is something that is on a regular review process. I've started to hear this from a number of people about the need to revise what fares can be charged, both from groups like Uber, but also what the taxis are allowed to charge and what they're not allowed to charge. So I think we'll have to work through that, find the right way, appreciating at the end of the day we want people to have choice in how they move throughout the city, no matter what that looks like, but it should be safe, it should be affordable, but those who are actually doing the work every day, who are driving everyone, should be making essentially a living wage. They should be able to have a family, get a home through that work, and right now we're hearing that's not the case, that people are having to work that job and 2 or 3 others in order to actually sustain a living.
Mr. Jaffer?
I understand that sometimes it's tough to deal with technology as it continues to proliferate and get into different areas that we may not be used to, but to have that industry be hit by $220 million, especially from a licensing system that so many people invested into, and overnight it changed and completely was decimated for a lot of livelihoods of people, is completely irresponsible. There's ways to be able to bring some of these technologies into light and level the playing field. And I'll give you an example of one I would like to continue to explore to even out, is we have delivery services, and many people in this room are restaurant owners, and you pay 15, 20%, even up to 30% with Uber Eats, with Skip, with all of these things, yet their business licensing is completely not reflective of how much they collect from people whose infrastructure, the restaurants, the taxes, everything else, they are paying all of that plus the 20 or 30% on top, and these guys don't pay any taxes to the city when it comes to a business license category that you could get more revenue from. This is completely absurd, and in fact, if you were a city that had a business mind, you could say to all these delivery services, you either reduce your costs to restaurateurs, drop your fees to 5 or 10%, or the city's going to levy higher taxes against you because you're using all the infrastructure but not paying for any of it. So this is the kind of thing I would like to do, to look at ways to generate more revenue and level the playing field with all of you people who are hardworking people and getting taken advantage of by these companies.
So the next person that I would like to ask, it will be Craig Davis.
Starting with Mr. Cartmill. It's a 2-part question. What are your thoughts on revamping or examining the regulations around the real estate development and sales industry to tackle concerns around infills, real, actual affordable housing, and selling practices? And if elected mayor, how would you keep this industry in check?
Well, thank you for the question. So when it comes to infill, I think that there's effectively 2 things that I want to do. It's going to be tough to summarize that in 90 seconds. But the first is shift our emphasis to the great big spaces where we can actually make a difference. Edmonton is still a place. It's a small city where you can get all the things you're looking for, but big enough that you can get all the things you're looking for, but small enough that you know your neighbors, that you can get a home and a little piece of land here. That's our competitive advantage. So housing affordability is something we really need to keep in check. And the best way we can do that is by building the supply that we need to fight against housing increases in those great big spaces where we can put thousands of units. Places like Blatchford, the old Northland site, downtown, some of the university properties. And that takes the pressure off, these spot infills in established neighborhoods. So the other thing that I would do would be to immediately change, within 40 days of the election, our current zoning bylaw to protect those established neighborhoods. better restriction on height, a better restriction on setbacks, a better restriction on the number of units in a building, a requirement for on-site parking, a re-examination of our district plans with actual engagement with actual people that live in those actual established neighborhoods. There's a number of things that we need to fix about our infill policies writ large, but it comes from changing our emphasis to actually the places where we can build thousands of units and actually
Time is up.
In our city.
Mr. Knack.
So I'll start with how we keep it in check. So we do have a dedicated enforcement team. That team has grown as of very recently, but it needs to grow larger to be able to more quickly respond when infill isn't being built properly beside a next door neighbor. And that team can grow in size by making sure the permitting cost includes the cost of the enforcement. But I'll focus on the overall infill piece because the city of Edmonton is currently the most affordable major city in Canada. We didn't get there by accident. We got there by making deliberate decisions over the last decade to provide more housing choice across the city. That includes in those larger areas, but it also includes our older communities. I live in a mature neighborhood as well that has a lower population today than it did 50 years ago. So we need to make sure that more people are coming into our mature neighborhoods, that those housing choices exist, because without a variety of housing choices in all communities, the people under 40 who are already still struggling to afford a home will definitely not be able to get a home if we start restricting that. The other piece we need to be careful about, part of what the changes that were made in our most recent zoning bylaw allowed for things like more multi-generational households. So many of these homes in the past were built in ways that didn't allow larger family sizes together. There's a home in the West End where they have split front and back as a duplex, and then the basement suite. The grandparents live in the front in a fully accessible suite. The parents live in the back with an upstairs, and the grandkids live in the basement. That type of housing was extremely hard to build under the old rules. Under the new rules, it's much more possible to do that, and we need to keep allowing that choice.
Mr. Jeffrey.
Our family's done some development in this city when it comes to hotels, commercial property, and other things. And so one of the things I know that we've done this on our own, but you asked particularly about, how to keep developers at bay in times when they're influencing certain things. Well, one way to check that is who gets most donations from developers and where their interest might be. That's something that I think would be valuable to find out. But the other thing about infill is that we've had this huge problem where we had this blanket zoning bylaw come in and really kill these neighborhoods that have been old, mature neighborhoods where not only has it changed the whole fabric of the neighborhood, but it's affected the livelihood. We talked about the taxi issue earlier. It's affected the livelihood of Edmontonians' number one security, which is their home investment. Some of these people, unfortunately, have had 8 plexes come in between two single-family homes, and it's just killed the value, and we haven't been respectful of that, and I want to change that, ensure that some of those neighborhoods are maintained and that mature characteristic is preserved, but also look at options outside of the box. The Smiley community, the community I belong to, has built a great affordable housing and multi-generational place in Calgary that's called Generations, and they did it, and it's open to everyone, and they created a real space looking for the future that's affordable. We've got to work with these kind of people, these developers and others who have that same mindset, create the incentive for them to look at housing like this for the future.
Mr. Walters.
Yeah, so we need more housing, less red tape, full stop. I told you earlier, my wife and I bought our first home in our late 20s. I was a nonprofit worker. She was an early career nurse. That's not the case for people today. We are losing our affordability edge. In 2021, I would say we had the most progressive and aggressive housing strategy in the country, where we had housing choice. And I think in the last 4 years, it's become more restricted, with primary focus just on mature neighborhoods, and we've lost our mojo on many other areas. We created a city plan that...
Time is up.
That was it.
30 seconds.
No,
continue? Okay.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Walters.
Trying to keep you on time.
Yeah.
Gotta get 6.
Keep it going.
Okay. That's okay. I was in such a flow there. We do have the opportunity to build some of our suburban communities that we need to plan south of 41st Avenue. Suburban communities are some of the densest communities, coupled with industrial land. Some of our most affordable communities, if we do those right. If you remember, we built billions of dollars of LRT from Millwoods to West Edmonton Mall with the promise that there'd be hundreds of billions of real estate investment to follow. We have huge brownfield opportunities at Blatchford, the old Northland site, downtown, the quarters, the West 240 by the university. that are sluggish and slow and need more support and aggression to get those built. And of course we need smart infill. I've always been a supporter of infill. I think the zoning bylaw of recent was too much focus, went too far too fast, and we lost the public trust. But we can get back to a very progressive, aggressive housing strategy to make sure that young people, your kids, all of our kids can afford to live in the city. That's what's most important.
Any rebuttals? Yes, Mr. Nag.
Yeah, I want to touch on the point in 30 seconds. So we certainly still need to do refinement on infill, but I do want to mention that when that public hearing happened back in October 2023, those who were in support of the changes were those who were under 40, the ones who were telling us they can't afford a home. People who were in support were from our racialized communities, who are often never represented in our public hearing process, talking about why they needed different choices. And so I think we have to be very careful about how we reform and walk back.
I have a quick follow-up question. A lot of you, thank you for the answers you gave. A lot of the focus on your responses was around the issues of infills, which I know it's a big hot topic. However, another part of the question really centered around the idea of real affordable housing. I know it's something that is mentioned a lot, but I'd love to know, what is your definition of real affordable housing?
So I think the definition of true affordable housing is one where right now in the city, 1 in 4 people who rent are facing a housing affordability crisis. They're paying more than 30% of their income towards rent. 1 in 8 people that own a home are paying more than 30% of their mortgage cost, of their income toward their mortgage cost. So it's one where that number is at 0. And you do that not just by allowing the market changes that we've made. The market changes that we've made have allowed us to stay as the most affordable major city in Canada. Today, if you look at even between Edmonton and Calgary, if you talk to builders who are doing it in both cities, the average price difference for the same type of home in Edmonton and Calgary is about $150,000. So we're in better shape, but we can't rely on the market exclusively for affordable housing. So that means building non-market housing where it is rent geared to income. We see that in groups like Greater Edmonton Foundation, which have rent geared to income for seniors. It's making sure you have that same type of product available for anyone that's renting, and they should be able to live in every part of the city too. So that means building that type of housing, both apartments and townhomes and single-family homes, in every community in a non-market way that allows people to access that, get their starter home, get their feet underneath them, and then at some point they might be able to move into a different home. But it has to be a non-market solution as well as a market solution, or else we will never get to true affordability of housing. We've seen the slipping away of affordable housing over the last 20 years from the other orders of government. I know we're seeing that we need to invest a lot more, and the city can lead that.
You know, one of the things, I know we've had a housing accelerator to put in place to try to build affordable housing. We've had some other incentives as well, and I know what Andrew's talking about, ensuring that the final product of rent matches income within that equation, but for some reason, there's not the take-up of building more of this housing despite having those kind of incentives in place. I don't quite understand why, and I hope to get to the bottom of it when I'm elected, if I am on after the 20th of October. But you do have a lot of land that was referenced by some of my colleagues. When you look at Blatchford, you look at the old Expo lands. Why is it that we're not getting the uptake from either private developers or others in blending this sort of incentivization that's out there? Because at the end of the day, if you're not getting it, if it's not working economically, it's never going to work. So we have to look at the reasons why those are not being developed and why those incentives aren't being taken care of, taking advantage of, to the point that we have more affordable housing.
So, personal experience, I grew up in unaffordable housing. My family, we were raised on AISH, so I appreciate how difficult this is for so many people in our city today. When you are paying more than 30%, and many people, 24,000 Edmonton households or more, are paying more than 50%. And if you're a newcomer, you are paying sometimes between 75 and 100% of your income in housing. So we have to build our strategy around those people's lived experience and needs, which is why we need a significant boost in rental stock in our city. And it's in my policy, 5,000 new rental units per year is what's needed. The accelerator money and the opportunities to build that with other government support really helps us focus it around transit, which actually reduces their overall cost, because then they don't need automobile cost, or they can just use public transit, which is what I said earlier, our plan is. So 5,000 units per year, focused near transit adds to supply, and then we need to work to provide those programs, particularly to newcomers who are in the most poverty right now, struggling the most with housing costs. That's where we need to focus our efforts, I would say.
Mr. Cartmus.
Thank you. So generally, so far, what we're hearing is more government money to provide housing for people that can't afford it. And we certainly need to find a way to provide housing for people that can't afford it, to keep rents well below market. I want to take a different approach, right, or at least add a different approach, and that is in partnerships. So in the community I currently represent, there's the Twilliger Rec Center. And across the street from that, there's a large piece of land that can be used for housing. But it can be used for more than that. So I want you to imagine a partnership with the private sector, where a building is built that has housing, affordable housing, well below market rent housing. Also has retail development in it. It also has a space for a library in it, perhaps a space for a senior center or a community center in it. And if we craft that partnership, if we create a bit of a hub that the private sector can build, that they can find the balance in their financial pro forma that allows them to actually invest the capital, and that we can just turn around and operate that part of the building, we create a financial partnership, an ownership partnership, and we can replicate that model in 100 different places on all the land that Raheem is referring to that the city owns. It's a different approach and a different model, and it's a partnership model.
I just need to clarify, my 5,000 units is driven by the private sector, and it's really about us getting out of the way. We can do auto approvals, we can do third-party inspectors, we can do all those things that make it easier for builders to build. That's what our job is, to enable it to happen. We do need some where the market won't provide housing to people that have real income challenges, for sure, but the large amount of our rental supply is going to come from the private sector.
Thank you.
Just to be clear. Thank you.
We're going to move into the next round, and I'm going to go back to Mr. Buttar.
Thank you very much. Southeast Edmonton, and there is the area, Maple area, may be familiar with the area. The residents face serious challenges with the railway crossing. Large subdivision was built without proper infrastructure, leaving thousands of families with no exit route. This has raised concern about the safety, especially for the emergency vehicles. The residents often face long cutoffs whenever there is an accident on the railway line. Why was that allowed to happen without ensuring accountability from the developers? As a mayor, what will you do to fix this issue and prevent a similar situation in the future?
That's something that you mentioned in the south part of the city. I've even heard it as even in central areas around Rio Terrace, for instance, where I was talking to residents there. There's only one bridge for many of them to get out, and this city shut down a lot of those areas while they were doing construction, and they were very concerned about the fact that there was no safety planning or emergency access exiting. So it doesn't surprise me it happened in another part of the city, because it seems to me there's no oversight from the city planning department when it comes to how they're focusing on construction, what areas they're congesting, and how are we allowing for people to have free flow. There's absolutely no oversight. If you drive anywhere in this city today, you will see demonstrations of that. There's like major bridges shut down with major arteries, and then you're stuck idling or looking for other routes out. I think it's just common sense when it comes to how a city should manage infrastructure planning. You look at one sector, you focus on the areas that are most urgent, deal with those, and then move on. You don't congest half of the city with all stuff. And I'm sure you've driven by some of these construction sites. There's nobody even working. All the signs are held up and there's no one even working. Now, I understand, again, they move on to different sections and try to itemize it, but there has to be a cleaner way, a more effective way, and a more efficient way to do this without restricting limiting the people to move around. That's one of the city's responsibilities, allowing people to move.
Mr. Walters?
Yeah, well, I think certainly our suburban design standards don't allow that. I think there's a regulatory process where we get, these area structure plans and neighborhood structure plans where we understand, how transportation is designed and planned for these communities. And ultimately, this circumstance is a bit surprising to me to hear. And from a governance perspective, administration brings us recommendations. We oversee those recommendations, but I think that is something that should not happen, and that really is a governance question about, we have to make sure that our administration is doing their job, not bringing those kinds of plans with that sort of follow-up or infrastructure planning and execution to us, so that it results in the circumstance that you're describing. There's really no excuse for it as far as I can see.
Mr. Cartmel.
Thank you. It's there's an old adage: an ounce of prevention equals a pound of cure, right? So now we've got a situation in Maple that we have to cure. So it needs a grade separation, right? Either the road goes over the railway or under the railway, and we need to start that right away because it is unsafe. If the train gets too long and blocks both entries, or if there's an accident blocking the entries, then you can't get in and out of Maple, and that's just not safe. What we need to do is be more methodical in how we build out our city. So we need to make sure that as our developers are building at the edges of the city, that they're not leapfrogging, that they finish one community before they start the next, that we get a deliberate, constant and enabled, but a deliberate construction of the edges of our city. And as we do that, we make sure that we're talking about what the constraints are to allow people to move in and out of that next community. One of the things that it might surprise you to know is that the city owns an artificial intelligence model of the entire traffic network in the entire region. They can model traffic. They can tell you if you close a road or close a bridge, what will happen to the rest of the network. So the things like this are absolutely predictable. They are avoidable, and we're just not using the tools at hand to make sure that we predict them and avoid them. That will change if I'm the mayor.
Mr. Neck.
Thank you. So this is one that's why it happened was in 2010 when this plan was approved, there wasn't the requirement to do the proper roadway upgrades that should have happened in the first place. And that's a shame. None of us were at that table at that time, and I'm not sure why that wasn't acknowledged. The plan acknowledges that the temporary access would be needed, but then references a project that had no sense of when it would ever happen. There was no requirement of the extension of 23rd Ave and the long-term plan or what would be a trigger point to do that work. So how we fix that is making sure that, as others have mentioned today, when a neighborhood structure plan comes forward, that those types of things are identified with a clear set of actions. At what point will a roadway upgrade will be required? At what point is a grade separation will be required? Who's going to be paying for that to make sure that it's built in? Because if it's the city that's paying for it, then how are we paying for it? When does that fall into the priority? Is this something the developer should pay for? So these are things that should have been built into the plan when it was first approved. I cannot for the life of me understand how it wasn't captured at that point in time and flagged, but it's something that going forward, similar I think to the others, is that as these new plans come forward, there needs to be a clear identification of infrastructure prioritization, roadway upgrades, grade separations, and that has to be approved at the start before the first home gets built.
I have a follow-up question. Similar situation happened in Strathcona County. They were building a area other side of the railway traffic, and city put a rider with the approval that unless that bridge is built, there's no occupancy there. They cannot hand out the residence to the the house to the rightful owner. The builder have to take the responsibility to build that before they hand out.
Mr. Butler, that's called conditioning. There should be conditions on further development that says until the developers of the city solve this issue, that further development can't happen. And that is a tool that the city has, and it should be employed. You're absolutely right.
And I think it's good for us to answer those questions. It would be a good question to ask at your councillor forum too, because these things live beyond councillors.
Yes.
Right? And new councillors have to be on top of that stuff and be accountable for that stuff and make sure that, because council is a continuum, right? These issues live beyond one person.
Thank you very much.
Okay, great. So, my next question is, it was recently reported by the CBC that it was done in 2022, the city and the province paid $400,000 for a study to be done on the environmental impact of the city-owned buildings and infrastructure. When the report came back, it was said that 39% of the city-owned assets are in dire need of immediate repairs and upgrades to fit current environmental standards and conditions. What are your thoughts on updating the aging City of Edmonton infrastructure to combat climate change?
So I think climate change is one lens. Safety certainly is the primary lens that we look at. The durability, resiliency of infrastructure. Is it supporting our economy, our transportation system? Climate change is it's always been an important lens for me, but it's one of the lenses. And certainly recognizing our overall infrastructure debt, or the amount of infrastructure that needs to be renewed, the challenges we have with our current debt limit, the lessening of our infrastructure grants, the turning down of our infrastructure grants from provincial government. We face some real challenges as a city financially. And certainly in the last number of years, our capital budgets have been largely focused on growth or new projects versus renewing and fixing old projects. I think we're going to see that change dramatically in the next couple budgets, where we have to really emphasize our capital budgets. And ultimately, when you look at things through a climate lens or a resiliency lens, you're building things with the understanding that climate is changing, climate is changing, compelling extreme weather events, which are putting even more pressure on our infrastructure. So we have to look at it through that lens. We have to prioritize renewal. We have to prioritize safety. We have to prioritize climate. And so I think those are important questions. And the shift from growth to renewal is going to be really important in the next 4-year capital budget and certainly beyond. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Cartmel. You're next.
Thank you. So I've lived in this city my whole life, and I can tell you as a youth, we never had days like today where you feel a little bit of smoke in the air. I never had recess council at my school because it was too smoky out. I don't remember as a kid it raining in February, right? There's no doubt that our climate is changing. There's no doubt that we need to be ecologically responsible. But I can tell you as an engineer, here's the thing. There's a number of different ways to solve these problems. There's a number of different ways to create those solutions. So when we're talking about buildings, we have to talk about what we use in engineering was an 80-20 rule. You can get, generally speaking, 80% to the point of your goal. Let's say you want to build buildings at a net zero perspective or a net zero emissions perspective. You want no carbon dioxide in the air. You can get 80% of the way to that goal for 20% of the cost. And it's the last 20% of that goal that's going to be 80% of the cost. So when we're faced with ecological responsibilities and fiscal restraints, we need to balance these things. We recently had a conversation at council where the cost of a fire hall, in order to be perfect, was $28 million in the city of Edmonton and $12 million in the county of Leduc. But if we reduce that using a sort of a 20-80 rule that I'm describing, that cost of that fire hall can be marginally more expensive in Edmonton and meet most of our climate goals, but not completely wipe out our budgets and our finances. This is the tax.
Time is up.
Thank you. So first, it's important to acknowledge the cost of inaction on climate change. And we saw that about 6 years ago when actually we all had to approve a $1.6 billion flood mitigation program because of the changing weather patterns. Many communities, including many here in Southeast Edmonton, were at higher risk of flooding. And so by the lack of action on climate change, we had to incur substantially higher costs, which we are all paying for through our utility rates. So that means when we're looking at aging infrastructure, we do need to take climate change, and that needs to be a major factor in every one of our decisions. At the end of the day, we will have a fixed infrastructure budget. We have about a $1.8 billion renewal deficit, which means our next 4-year budget cycle, we won't be able to get everything done. So it will be a prioritization exercise. It will be going through what we need to invest in the most, and then when we're doing those renewal, taking into account all of those considerations, functionality, form, but also climate, usability, that's going to be critical as we go forward. And we also have to do the same when we're building new. I want to make sure that we're not sacrificing growth, because there is a lot of growth in the city happening outside the Henday right now. And so we need to be investing in both renewal and in growth. Over the last few years, we've been more of that 50-50, and I think we need to be careful about sacrificing the growth pressures solely for renewal.
Thank you. Mr. Jaffer next.
Yeah, thanks, Kate. So that $400,000 report, did it also, are you aware, did it have recommendations associated with that? I'm curious just because I hadn't heard about this report.
The recommendations that it said was that it needed to be fixed like,
so
as soon
it
as
just
possible.
basically
Yeah,
listed the
yeah.
things. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you see, the capital budget infrastructure, especially when it comes to environmental areas and such, there are ways to leverage federal money and provincial money to work together. I mean, the city can't go at it alone, especially now when we have a lot of incentives put in place for cities to move in more net zero, to create better efficient buildings and do things. So again, having that leadership of knowing how to leverage and work with the federal government and the provincial government will be crucial, because we can't continue to squeeze Edmontonians for more money and more money. We need to look at ways to leverage other pools that are out there. So that's one thing. But I know that one of the other things that we do need to do is obviously coordinate more effectively on the environment file. And even though we know that our provincial friends may not have the same views, we do need to be able to sit at the table with them and leverage the ability. If this is an interest for Edmontonians, and we know it is, climate is a concern for everybody, we have to focus on those issues of infrastructure and other areas of building and bring it to the table and say, let's start with this, let's focus on how we can work together and move that forward. And I believe that can be done with the right leadership.
Thank you. Mr. Walters, you had
I was going to say the leadership is really important on this question, and I'm glad that the stormwater drainage question was brought up in terms of resilience. Edmonton in 2014 was given a D for flood mitigation preparedness. Nationally, one of the least prepared countries or cities in the country. By 2020, we were given an A, considered the best, most flood prepared city in the country, because we had transferred our drainage assets to EPCOR, which actually saved the cities, the ratepayers, $2.8 billion based on the original estimates that the city of Edmonton's city operations department provided. Now there's, still we have to be careful, like we can't backtrack on that stuff. There's a, working families group that's trying to get that shifted back to the city, and those costs, we can't afford that, and we have to do what we're doing well. Thanks.
Mr. Cartmel?
Thank you. I'd like to express, a different form of leadership. I put solar panels on my roof, and I collect all the rainwater off of my roof. So we don't use treated water to water our grass or water our flowers. And I actually have not paid for electricity in a couple of years. I've paid connection fees, but I haven't actually paid for energy in almost 2 years. And I would like to bring that personal experience, again, as an engineer, it's not enough to talk about these things. I think it's something that you need to actually have done. And I'd like to bring that same experience to the buildings that we own at the City of Edmonton.
So safety and security is a major concern for all Edmontonians. Many residents feel that the police often do not respond to smaller crimes due to limited manpower and funding. As mayor, how would you ensure that Edmonton has the resources and the frontline officers needed so that people feel safe in their neighborhoods, and that crimes, or big or small, and I'll also add to the mental health responses, are properly addressed?
Yeah, thank you for the question. We hear this all the time. I'm hearing this on just about on every doorstep, that there's a concern for safety, and it manifests itself differently in different places. In suburban neighborhoods, it's a lot about break-ins to homes or break-ins to cars, or even traffic safety as a rule. We have a funding formula, a police funding formula, which has given our police service predictable funding for a number of years. Now, there's a couple of my colleagues that chose to reduce that funding for a couple of years, and we had to restore it. That led to some pretty acrimonious conversations at the beginning of the current term. But we've since reestablished that funding formula, so I think the resources are there. I think at the outset, it's a deployment question. And so many of our officers have been deployed away from being present in the street, being present in the community, being present doing traffic safety. And we need to go back to that deployment model that we used to have. So I want to see us return to community policing. And that's not just the presence of police on our streets or in our public spaces, but it's police embedding themselves in the community. Going to the community league meeting, going to the business association meeting, understanding and speaking to the people that own the shops on the streets, knowing who's actually in those places and who needs care and who needs attention and who needs some accountability. It's a return to that community policing model, but a true community policing model that will serve all of our communities across the city much better. And once we
Time is up.
Yeah, I think this is something we all agree on. We're hearing at almost every single door that people don't feel as safe as they used to, even though EPS's own stats seem to suggest that the overall crime rate is lower today than it was 10 years ago, but nobody actually feels that when you're actually talking to them face to face. Nobody is seeing that. And so there's a few things we need to do, one of which deals with, I'll focus on deployment here on the south side, because right now we actually only have 2 divisions, southwest and southeast. And if you think about the geographic area those officers have to cover, even being able to get to those community meetings, to go into those business association meetings, what does that mean if they're required to cover everything from one end of the river to the city boundary at the south side? So we actually need to have a conversation of, do you need a dedicated south central division so that southwest and southeast divisions can have a smaller geographic area and change how the officers will get deployed into communities? On top of that, again, it's making sure that we're allocating, you touched on homelessness and mental health, because police are often the first to respond to a lot of the disorder. And so instead of spending their time on serious crime, they're out responding to a mental health call or a disorder call, even with some of the agencies that are operating in the space. And that's why it is so important that as a city we are taking a greater leadership role in addressing this crisis, because we need to make sure that police can focus their time. They are one of the best resourced policing agencies in all of Canada, of all the major cities. So let's let them use their time on serious crime and focus on addressing the other issues like mental health and addictions through other opportunities.
Mr. Jaffer.
I disagree with my colleague, because I think violent crimes have actually been on the uptick. And in fact, the reason why crimes overall are down is a lot of people don't feel like it's going to do anything if they report the crime anyway. So this is a big problem. So I feel that one of the things that I've offered is the ability to put more frontline police officers on the ground. And when we talk about that community policing idea, it works well in Old Strathcona, where I run my business. When those police officers are on the ground walking, and of course pairing up those social supports that they need to do their job, because the job of policing has changed significantly over the last decade, and leveraging those provincial supports so that the police can have the support for those who are suffering from mental issues or substance abuse. They need to work hand in hand, but more boots on the ground actually deters crime, and that's something we've seen in many cities where it happens. The other thing is, now my colleagues have said, where are you going to find the money? I've already said one of the things that's just baffles me is that we don't have the proper audits at the city council level for a lot of different departments, some of the arm's length departments that get money, and we don't get the performance audits regularly. I believe there's $400 million there just through those audits, where we will be able to find efficiencies and reallocate some of this money to the core services, which I've been arguing all through this campaign. We need to get back to the core services, have economic growth, and focus on reducing the costs in areas that we shouldn't even be in.
Thank you. Mr. Walters.
Yeah, thanks. It's an important question. As my colleagues have said, this comes up. This is the biggest issue that I hear about, door knocking and at events. An opportunity with a new chief is always an opportunity. Someone particularly who I see as being committed to innovation, but also sort of traditional community policing, relationship-based policing. I think relationships are really the answer. I think some of the bigger challenges that we have in our community, whether they may be small for us, when everybody's experiencing small problems, they add up to a big problem in a neighborhood. And I think there are ways to address those if we organize our police service to be about relationships at the community level. And of course, that's the conversation that council can have through the commission and with the police chief in a healthy ecosystem that's focused on community safety, which means that we have to take the politics out of policing. And I think we've seen that be an impediment to community safety in the last 4 years, as everything's been too political, been too negative about policing, we've been too negative about their approaches. And it doesn't mean accountability is not important, but I think we need to be productive, and real leaders focus on productivity, not on politics when it comes to this stuff. And partnerships at the community level matter, as I said, because that's how we're actually going to get at problems, is police officers sitting at the table and police leadership sitting at the table with community leaders, understanding what the issues are and what resources are needed, and that police service being responsive to that community. And that's a culture thing that needs to matter to council, needs to matter to commission, and needs to matter to the service. And that's the kind of leadership that I would put forth. I would expect that responsiveness as the sort of fundamental value of a police service, whether your issues are...
Time is up.
I just want to say, I think this idea that simply increasing the number of police officers will solve the problem hasn't actually panned out in the city. We've seen the EPS budget grow substantially over the last decade. with substantially more officers than we've seen before, and yet we're still hearing everything from all of us that people aren't feeling safer, they aren't seeing that. And so I think we need to be careful about using one solution to solve a very complex problem. And so that's why we should make sure we're funding police, but also funding everything else that's needed to free up their capacity to focus on crime and not disorder.
Mr. Cardinal.
That's true. The police is the only 24/7, 365 social service agency that we have. So we certainly do need the other agencies and the other expertise, mental health addiction professionals, we need those to accompany our police officers into those spaces. But they need to be available 24/7, 365 as well, and currently they're not. I also want to go back to the statistic that crime is going down. That's a crime severity index, and it's related to the number of convictions. So when convictions go down, crime severity goes down, but that does not resonate with people that we're talking to on the doorsteps.
I think we have a great opportunity in Edmonton, actually. We are one of the leaders in social policing. We're police officers, front lines, working with social agencies, navigators, mental health response workers. We need to celebrate that, make that more mainstream. That's how, particularly in our downtown and commercial areas, we're going to see real progress on safety and freeing up resources for more community-focused work. That's important to everybody here.
Now, if I could ask a quick follow-up question. Mr. Knack, earlier in the debate, you had mentioned the spend on EPS is the single biggest envelope with the city. So from a budgetary perspective, are we talking about increasing the envelope to address this question, or making the envelope more efficient?
I think we make it more efficient. It is, it's actually distributing that in more ways. So we talked about this police funding formula, which currently exists, that provides stability and consistency for Edmonton Police Service. We don't have that same type of funding in place for community agencies, the social organizations that are doing that work. So I've talked about this idea of a community safety and well-being funding formula that provides all of those groups with stability and consistency, so that those groups have that 24/7 funding to go and respond, so that we again, police can focus their time and attention in other areas.
Thank you, Mr. Jeffrey.
But Andrew, he asked about efficiency, and so the only way you create efficiency in the police service, just like any part of the government, you have to have audits. And I know they resist those things, but performance audits are the only way you actually uncover how money is being spent and how you make it more efficient. Without that, it's a blank check, and that's what's been happening, and that's why there's no accountability. That's why we're in the problem that we're in today with the crime as high as it is.
Mr. Walters?
Yeah, I think, when we created the police funding formula, we described it as putting our police service on a diet, and it was to avoid, big increases that were unsustainable over a long period of time with an X factor or an efficiency factor built in. That's the nature of the formula, to keep police costs reasonable, but make sure we have enough funding in this system to keep people safe and to work in partnerships. Just a note on the community safety well-being idea. There is a community safety well-being fund today, which one thing I've heard in this campaign across the city, it's not well regarded, it's not well used, it's not focused. So I think before we create a whole new system, we have to make sure that fund is spent properly, helping our communities be safer.
Mr. Carmel.
And it starts with that social service ecosystem that is a subset of our nonprofit part of our economy, having proper wages, living wages, having multi-year funding that is predictable funding, so that they can walk hand in hand with our police service and bring the service that we need, bring the attention we need, bring the resource we need to the situation in the moment, as a collaborative effort from all agencies in our social service ecosystem. It's going to be part efficiencies and part proportionally increasing the budget, the police budget, with the rest of the city budget.
Thank you.
Wonderful. So I'm going to get now Mr. Boutard to address some of the questions that we have been receiving, right, from the audience.
First question is, on one hand, all three levels of the governments are asking to build more homes and, make it fast. We need more homes. We have lots of influx of the population. But on the other hand, with the city, the timeline for the permits and the inspector were booked for 3 weeks. If they want to rebook them, it's 3 weeks again. How you can make sure that red tape is taken away or make it efficient to build homes in the city? I'll start with Mr. Jaffer.
Thank you. I've addressed this in my platform because I've seen that even though there are certain areas of our permitting that's not bad, there's certain other areas, about 1/3, that where we're very far behind on the permitting, which adds cost to development, adds cost to building, adds cost even in small businesses that are waiting to get permitting. So I want to try to focus in a way to be able to create more efficiencies. There's ways to look at maybe AI or other things to help speed the process during the beginning of the permitting, but give a 30-day hard stop. If the bureaucracy doesn't process those permits within 30 days, they're green lighted. Because I think we have to light a fire under the bureaucrats who deal with permitting to say that this costs our city too much in foregone capital on people who look at investing in other places because we're not doing it efficiently. So we need to speed up that process and show to the business community and others that we are open for business. We're going to make it less costly, less red tape.
Mr. Ward?
Yeah, I think we've been, resting on our laurels to some degree. We talk about how we have the fastest residential permitting program in the country, but we're still adding our red tape still adds significant cost per household, per home sale in our city. So we have to do things. Guaranteed timelines and automatic approvals. So 10 days for a single family, 20 days for a multifamily, and 30 days for larger projects. I think if we can't deliver that, those are auto approved. That's how seriously we need to take our housing shortage and make sure. We need smarter inspections. We can use third-party accredited inspectors. Even if some folks are willing to, pay that bill faster, it just gets them building faster because that's kind of the gum up in the system. And we have this conveyor belt a process where an applicant has to talk to one person and then wait 2 weeks to talk to the next person, then wait a week to talk to the next person, then it circles back to the first person. We need one-stop service for people so that we bring all those people together to make sure that we're moving those permits through so that they can start construction and we get to a point where people are living in the houses that they desperately need to live in our city. So that's my commitment.
Thank you, Mr. Cardinal.
Thank you. So as an engineer, I've lived this journey many times trying to deliver building projects in the city of Edmonton, and I have lived the frustration. And what happens on the bigger projects is it goes from department to department to department to department. It comes back to the beginning, and you address those concerns, and then it goes around and around and again, and that takes months. So an application goes to every department at the same time, comes back at the same time, you address all those comments, you get one chance as a city department to comment on a design, and that's it. And if you can't do that in 30 to 45 days, then you're done. We have in our community, the city of Edmonton has inspectors and has people to review plans, but so many municipalities around us don't. There are private sector companies that actually do inspections and actually do permits for those other municipalities. We can engage them and give them the right to do those things in the city of Edmonton. The city of Vancouver has gone down the road of allowing professional architects and engineers to take a one-day training course in planning in the city of Vancouver and then issue permits and do inspections on behalf of the city of Vancouver. We could do that here. All of this is speed to inspection, speed to permit. And I'll tell you that outside of small residential developments, every one of those things requires professional engineers to be involved. And the professional engineers need to sign off on the completed work. So if we have a professional community that is already vetting at the beginning and vetting at the end, why is the city in the middle? So get out of your lane, reduce red tape, and let the industry do what it can do by virtue of its professional credentials.
Mr. Nick?
I feel like we're passionately agreeing with each other on this question. I think we also share, because truly I think the City of Edmonton has made a lot of progress over the last decade. As mentioned, Canadian Home Builders Association measures 23 municipalities across the province. They rank Edmonton number 1, but we can't rest on our laurels. We have to do better because the housing crisis is real, the affordability crisis is real. People need to get homes. And so, yes, it's all of these things. It's using AI for inspections. It's looking at different ways to help make sure, like other municipalities are doing, they're doing that work and setting aside time so it's not always a city inspector that's coming out. We've seen great work. We have to take that great work that's particularly in the small scale residential and apply that to all residential categories. So it's continued work and continued improvement, and I give a lot of credit in this case to our city staff who have been doing a lot of great work over the last decade to get us to where we're at. We have more to do, and I'm glad that, and I think there's ways we can take from those processes and just apply it across the board.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
So I have a question from the audience as well. Property management companies They seem to increase their prices at their own wish, and there doesn't seem to be any cap on them. What are your plans to manage these property management companies? So,
less than one increase a year, or pardon me, one limit of one increase a year. Let me first start by saying I don't know. I'm not precisely sure how much the City of Edmonton can limit how property managers manage their properties. I think we have the opportunity to set these things. So what I would like to see is a limit of one property, one rent increase per year on your property. And I'm going to dip my toe a little bit into this. We hear concerns that those from visible minority communities sometimes see rents go up double, triple. They go up many times a year. That
is the sort of key principle here. When people are, being doubled up on rent increases a year, it does make the city less affordable for them. It makes their life less affordable. They can't afford to buy food or put their kids in sports, which these have lingering costs onto the future that they're gonna add up. So I think there is fairness principles. So again, advocating for a once a year increase is reasonable. I think there's other ways to drive savings for large property owners that can be passed on to renters as well, through back to our energy efficiency question, as we're, particularly in large buildings, through energy retrofits that really affect poor people because they're living in older buildings often. Those savings can be passed on, if it's a requirement of the receipt of the program or the grant from federal or provincial governments. I'm a big advocate for those things. And I think Tim's point about face blind, name blind rental applications. I spent much of my early career working with newcomers around living wages, employment rights, and housing rights. And we've been advocating in this rental market for face blind, name blind applications for a long, long time. And I think that is also about fairness and avoiding racism, which is terrible.
This is another question from the audience. Mr. Knack, so how much debt has the city accumulated in the last 4 to 12 years? It's a two-part question. So how much debt has the city accumulated in the last 4 to 12 years? And do you have a sense of how much interest we're paying on it? And if elected mayor, what would be your strategy to managing and reducing the current debt that the city has so it's not being borne by the city residents?
Thanks for that question. Total debt, I think, is in the order of about $4.5 billion in our current capital budget, but I'll double check. I know the dollar amount that we pay per year on debt servicing is close to about $400 million a year. And I think for me, this is why I've talked about this notion of not going through austerity. The city of Edmonton has a very strict debt management fiscal policy. It's actually more strict than what the provincial government allows municipalities to borrow to. And that has been used thoughtfully over the years to build things like the Valley Line LRT here, the various rec centers that we've seen, fire halls, roadways expansions. Debt is used to help build infrastructure so that it can be used more quickly by the people who are living here today. And so as mayor, I do plan to continue to invest in infrastructure. We are short 4 fire halls. We should be investing in that. We need to continue our road renewal work. We have to increase the amount that we're investing in arterial roadway renewal. We have to buy more buses once the bus garage is built to be able to provide more service. So I want to make sure we are borrowing thoughtfully to invest in the services that people need, both in the growing areas, but then also in the older neighborhoods where we are borrowing to do work, like investing in new infrastructure there or renewed infrastructure. So for me, it's about being thoughtful about how we use that debt, but making sure that we're not going through austerity and stopping all of our projects, because we have heard that suggestion.
Thank you. Mr. Walters, your thoughts on that?
One thing we have to recognize, certainly borrowing and using debt is a tool that municipalities have had. The province even encourages municipalities to use debt as a way to pay for infrastructure because our borrowing is relatively affordable. But we could have, driven savings in a number of our larger capital projects. If we had saved, 20% on Lewis Farms, as an example, we'd have a significant amount more money for local, smaller amenities to spread around the city. If we had, recognized some of the challenges on the South Capital Line LRT extension and factored them into the budget earlier as opposed to doing them through change orders, we would have been able to save significant amounts of money that we could spend on infrastructure around the city as opposed to losing that money through sort of bad oversight and bad construction management, we then, rely on more debt and more interest, which isn't paying for anything, right? So I think better financial management, better project management, that drives savings, so we have more money to spread around to those important needs, like Andrew talked about. We could have built a couple fire halls with the savings, with good savings on Lewis Farms, as an example. And I think the other reality is we keep getting, stripped away. Infrastructure money keeps getting stripped away from the province. This is why we can't walk away from a relationship with the province when the going gets tough. We have to stand up and fight for a fair deal for our city so that we can build the infrastructure we need.
Thank you, Mr. Carmel.
So many thoughts. So we essentially use debt for new things. And so the way to stop building the debt, the accumulated debt, is, quite frankly, stop building new things on property tax dollars and enter into partnerships to deliver some of that infrastructure. So Andrew's right, we need 4 new fire halls, but we don't need 4 $25 million city-provided fire halls. We could make do with 4 $15 million private sector-provided fire halls. That would save us money. We had a mayor not too long ago that said no more crap. And because of that, we have been gold-plating our vertical infrastructure for the better part of 10 years. That's costing us a lot of money. It's important to remember that when the city retires debt, it's like a mortgage. They retire both the principal and the interest. Other levels of government only pay the interest. They use it like a credit card. We pay it back like a mortgage. What's more, we do all of our borrowing through the provincial government. But what they don't let us do is retire debt early. So we have a lot of debt at 2.5% interest rates from years gone by. And we've got some debt that we just took on at 5 and 6% interest rates. If the province would loosen up their rules so that we could pay off that 5 and 6% debt first and maintain the 2% debt for a longer time, we would save some taxpayer dollars. So it does come back to a relationship with the province, but it comes back to that relationship in a different way, a different financial agreement. It comes with not gold plating our vertical infrastructure anymore, and it comes from partnerships with the private sector and other levels of government to deliver these amenities that we really need.
Thank you. Mr. Nack?
Just the comment, because I do agree. If we had built the Lewis Farms Rec Center earlier, we actually would have saved substantially more. There was a motion made 11 years, or probably about 7 years before we finally approved it, that had we built it then, it would have been about a third less. And so we need to make sure that this comes back to when we know we need these types of investments, that we do the work and approve them and move forward with them, because every year you don't approve them, those costs go substantially higher. We have roads we need to widen in this part of the city and in the West End and in other pieces. We need to use that money responsibly and advance that work when needed.
I'll just add that, 30 years of experience spending other people's money, managing projects as an engineer, 30 years of building these things and making sure they come in on time and on budget. Over 700 projects in those over 30 years of work. There is always more than one solution to deliver the outcome you're looking for. You just have to open your mind to those solutions, whether they are financial models and partnerships, operating models and partnerships, or quite frankly, redirecting the dollars or finding a different way to pay back the mortgage. There's a number of ways to do it. You just have to have 35 years of experience in knowing how to do it and bring those solutions to the city.
Wonderful. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do the closing statement. So each candidate will get 2 minutes to summarize their key messages. No rebuttals this time. So we're going to start then.
Thank you. So I hope this afternoon has given you the chance to hear from all of us, to see where we share common ground and to understand where we differ. Yes, we're facing some challenges, but I know we can do this work together. That's why I want to return to what today represents. Truth and Reconciliation Day is about honoring survivors and remembering the children who never made it home and committing ourselves to doing something. For me, leadership means solving problems by turning good ideas into action. It means building more housing so that young families and seniors can afford to live in good neighborhoods near safe transit. It means providing concierge support to small businesses so they don't have to waste their time and money navigating red tape. And it means listening to regular people, to Indigenous peoples, to newcomers, to longtime residents, not special interests, donors, or political parties. In my 12 years on council, I've never taken the privilege of serving for granted. Not once. I've made hard decisions to get real results. I've voted against the pack when it mattered. I found compromise when others thought there was none to be had. And I've reached across divides and united people behind solutions. And I've always done it with purpose, not ego. As your mayor, I will work to protect and improve the services that make our communities stronger. I'll lead with integrity, and I'll keep bringing people together to make Edmonton more affordable, more safe, and more ambitious. Because when we work together, there is nothing this city can't achieve. Thank you.
They don't feel like they're getting value for the taxes they pay. Core services aren't keeping up. Projects overlap and drag on. And too often people don't feel safe in their own city. This must change. I'm an engineer and business owner, not a career politician. For me, leadership has always meant cutting through the excuses, demanding accountability, and making sure projects are done right. As your mayor, I'll do the same. Ask the right questions, stop waste and overlap, and make sure taxpayers get the core services and safe communities that they're paying for. I know we can build it better because I've done it my whole life. And I know that a great city doesn't have to cost more. It just has to be managed better. But no mayor can do this alone. One vote at City Hall won't change the direction of a city. That's why I built the Better Edmonton team. With the right plan, the right team, and the most experience, we'll hit the ground running the day after the election. In the first 100 days, Edmontonians will see results. Safer streets, smarter spending, and services that work. We can't afford to waste any more time. On October 20th, I ask for your vote and for your support of the Better Edmonton team. Together, we can restore trust, deliver results, and build a city that works for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carmel. We can move now
Thank
into
you.
Mr.
Thank you all for taking the time to be here today with us. On October 20th, I believe Edmontonians have a choice. We can settle for the status quo, a repeat of the last 4 years, or we can vote for change. The last 4 years have left too many people feeling frustrated, divided, and stuck. But I believe our best days in the city. This is our moment to turn the page. For too long, City Hall has clung to an outdated mindset that growth must mean excessively higher taxes. That broken model is unsustainable, and if nothing changes, your taxes will rise again nearly 28%, while your income barely grows and businesses leave our city. This math doesn't work for families. So I will use the power of the mayor's office also to address the most important issues. I'd like to work alongside your community to stop the horrifying extortions targeting families and businesses. No one should have to live in fear in our city. We will act together with courage and with urgency to end this criminal activity and make sure every community feels safe, secure, and supported in our city. And that's why it matters to have a seat at the City Hall table, a voice that understands how to change the mindset and deliver a city that works, a city where we tackle public safety and homelessness head on, where people don't spend summers stuck in gridlock and winters praying for a plow, where our kids feel safe on the LRT, and where they can one day afford to buy a home. So I will lead a city where families, businesses choose to stay, grow, and thrive. A city that is beautiful, that is connected, and that is enduring. So tonight, I ask you, join me. Let's build a safer, more affordable Edmonton. Let's build a city that we can all be proud to call our home. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Walters. So now, ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's mayoral candidates debate. And on behalf of my Radio 580 AM and our community partners, we sincerely thank all the candidates for your time, ideas, and dedications to serving our city. We also extend our gratitude to our audience here today and to those listening live on air. Your engagement and participation are what makes democracy thrive. As we close, let us remember that we are gathered here on Treaty 6 territory, the homeland of the Métis Nation, and as we move forward together, may we do so with respect, unity and shared commitment to building.
ਸੋ ਦੋਸਤੋ ਇਹ ਸੀ ਸਾਡਾ ਅੱਜ ਦਾ ਇਹ ਵਤਨ ਟੀਵੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ। ਅੱਜ ਦਾ ਇਹ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਲੱਗਾ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਲੋਕਲ ਈਵੈਂਟਸ ਕਵਰ ਕਰਕੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਤੱਕ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਲੱਗਦੇ ਨੇ? ਆਪਣੇ ਕੀਮਤੀ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਸਾਂਝੇ ਕਰਿਆ ਕਰੋ। ਇੱਥੇ ਹੀ ਆ ਗਿਆ ਦਿਓ, ਅਗਲੇ ਹਫਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਮਿਲਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਰੱਬ ਰੱਖਾ।